right, we'll go ahead and call to order the April 25th, 2024 meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council. If you would, please stand and join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item, please.
Next item is roll call. Councilmember Lopez Taff.
Here.
Councilmember Middleton.
Here.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Here.
Vice Mayor Karpinski Costa.
Present.
And Mayor Daniels.
Here. Next item, please.
This meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T U-verse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at citrusheights.net. Tonight's meeting replays on Monday, April 29th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14. This meeting can also be viewed at the city's YouTube channel.
All right, next item, please.
Next item is approval of agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Schaefer and seconded by Councilmember Lopez Taff. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item, please.
Next item is presentation. Presentation number 4 is a proclamation of the City of Citrus Heights proclaiming April 21st through 27th as National Volunteer Week.
Okay, this is a very special presentation we get to do tonight. And I'm going to read a few words and then ask the council members if they want to say some things, read the proclamation. We'll have about 150 people come up to the front and have a good time. Let me see. National Volunteer Week is an opportunity to recognize and thank volunteers who lend their time, talent, voice, and resources to meet the needs of our community. Volunteerism empowers individuals to take their passion and turn it into meaningful purpose. We would like to applaud all of our volunteers and extend our sincere and heartfelt gratitude to the variety of volunteers in our city, including City Hall, Community Center, and Police Department volunteers who have contributed thousands of hours of service to the city, all of our Reach and Neighborhood Association volunteers, and the Purple Pageant volunteers. At this time, would any of the members of the council like to say a few words regarding our volunteers? Go ahead. Anything?
My whole career before I became a business owner was in volunteer management, and working with volunteers is my forte, and I just love engaging individuals with passion for a cause to do what they want to do for the organization and serve others. And, I have the distinct pleasure of being a member of several nonprofit organizations and civic groups here in the city, and I want to thank them for giving me opportunity to learn and grow as a volunteer, and those are the Citrus Heights Women's Club, Citrus Heights Seroptimists, Citrus Heights Chamber, and also my neighborhood area group, Chasen, and thank you for letting me enjoy my city as a volunteer. So thank you all for volunteering your time and talent.
Thank you very much. Anything? Go ahead, Tim.
I too do quite a lot of volunteering. I think I've got my fingers in just about every little pie out there. And I started out really with the city and volunteering to serve with my neighborhood. I would encourage anyone who's watching this to, our neighborhoods are in need of board members, some guidance from what the community needs. I certainly would encourage you to volunteer for your neighborhood. I enjoyed the experience very, very much, and I would just encourage anyone who's watching to reach out and find a way to volunteer. For those people that are already in this room, already know that secret. And thank you very much for all the hard work you do. Your experience and your contribution is vital to how the city operates, and I can't tell you from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much.
I'd have to go and thank you all that are here and recognize your volunteerism, because it's you that make our city what it is. If somebody came from out of space and wanted to learn about our culture and they saw all this volunteerism, they would go, wow, this is a really cool place. And so the neighborhoods are just a really good source to use some of your volunteer energies. I know a lot of you from the PD, they couldn't function without you. The community center couldn't function without volunteers. So we are just so grateful to you, to all the neighborhoods that generate volunteers, and to remind people who are not currently volunteers but have all this energy to check out the Volunteer Hub on the city's website. Because if you have a talent, if you have just a little bit of time, you just don't want to get involved in every day, but you just maybe 1 or 2 days, you want to get some energy out, take the kids out, volunteer as a family. And there's so many projects that are listed on the Volunteer Hub that you can sign up for. You get notifications when a new project comes forward that you might be interested in. There's so many topics, and I'm sure there's a spot for everybody, and that you'll all feel welcome. So I thank you all for your service.
Yeah, echo what the other council members, oh, did you have something?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Portia. go
No,
ahead.
it's all right.
You gotta,
You want me to just throw my pen at you or something? Please.
yes.
As the rest of my colleagues have said, you guys are what makes our city great. And I want you to take a look around the room, because without you and what you do, we would not be the city that we are. We would not be able to accomplish a lot of the things that we accomplish. And I've just watched over the years, participating in many different things, from Kiwanis, Rotary, all different kinds of service clubs and organizations in the city. And the best thing about it is the friendships that you make there and the community that you build. And as you can see, it translates into the people that you have sitting up here with you, and we do our best to give back right alongside you. So thank you again for all that you do.
Thank you. Yeah, echoing, again, what everybody said is so true. And then I'm going to touch just on 2 points, that it doesn't have to be a lot of time. It can be a day, 1 day a month, whatever you want it to be. So don't feel as if you can't help out by just stepping up and doing just even a little bit. So it gives you something to do, get out of the house, help out, and it makes a big difference. And then I'm just going to touch on this side of it, and that is the money side. When volunteers help us do things, that means money can be spent on other things. And so it opens up funds to be able to let the city do other wonderful things. And so you're making a big difference. Those of you that have done this, thank you so much from our hearts, and keep doing it, please. And those of you that are kind of thinking about it, come on down and get started, okay? At this time, I'd like to invite all of our wonderful Citrus Heights volunteers that I just mentioned to come up near the podium while I read this proclamation, and then we would then like to take a group photo with the city council. So come on up. Everybody. 150 people. Hold on, Tim, not yet.
He's going to read the proclamation for us.
Right here is fine, good? Yep, then I'm going to read this proclamation when everybody gets up. Sure. Michael's following the directions. I said podium.
Since Mr. Daniels is coming down, what you see up here are a lot of volunteers from a lot of different areas. Last year, I made the same speech to all the parents and everyone else. Remember the volunteers that are teaching your kids soccer and are helping them in the library and other places. They're also volunteers. So next time you see them out there, folks, give them a handshake and thank them for what they're doing. They're also volunteers. Thank you.
Okay, this is a proclamation of the City of Citrus Heights proclaiming April 21st through 27th, 2024 as National Volunteer Week. Whereas the City of Citrus Heights recognizes the invaluable contributions of volunteers that enhance the vibrancy and vitality of our community, and whereas during this week, all over the nation, volunteers who strengthen, enrich, and improve their community through their commitment to serving others are recognized, and whereas the city's volunteer hub is a vital resource that provides a platform for community groups and nonprofits to connect with residents and offer meaningful volunteer opportunities, and whereas during this week, service projects will be performed throughout the city and volunteers will be recognized for their commitment to service, And whereas we honor all of our outstanding volunteers, community groups, and neighborhood areas who provide countless hours of service this past year to the city of Citrus Heights at City Hall, the Community Center, the Citrus Heights Police Department, and special events. And whereas the service provided by volunteers is integral to the prosperity of the Citrus Heights community, now therefore be resolved that the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights does hereby proclaim April 21st through 27, 2024 as National Volunteer Week, as we celebrate and extend our sincere gratitude to all volunteers who serve. Thank you very much. So we're going to try to take a photo. So we've got to really kind of crunch it in, make a couple of rows. And actually, council, let's go ahead and stay back there.
Yeah, let's
We'll stand there.
There we go.
Right.
Good
You're
idea.
going to have maybe 4 rows. So really, you guys are like way out there. Come on in.
Look closer to the, not big, closer to the seals.
There we go.
Position yourself between.
Wow. It's a big group.
There we go. All right.
Oh, Brett's gonna come up and fill in.
Oh, we can just take one out. He's fine.
So, Brett,
Oh, Brett's gonna,
here we go.
maybe be in the middle. Say volunteer.
Good, 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 good. All right.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item is presentation number 5, a presentation by the Sacramento Yellow Mosquito and Vector Control District.
Hello, good evening. Gary Goodman, our district manager, was on the agenda. He was not able to be here tonight, so you get me instead. My name is Luz Maria Robles. I'm the district's public information officer. I've been with the district now for 16 years, and tonight is my pleasure to be able to give you guys an update on what we can expect in terms of mosquito season. Just to get out of curiosity, have any of you guys been bitten by mosquitoes already this year? Yes, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it is mosquito season, and I'm here to provide you guys with a little update.
Hey Liz, just for the audience, this is the lady you see on TV doing the mosquito commercials, and so she's famous,
Celebrity.
Now I'm gonna be
celebrity. Tell
embarrassed,
Gary he can stay.
but- All right, thank you guys. So we're gonna get started, so. It's not advancing? Oh, there we go. So we are the local mosquito vector control district that covers Sacramento and Yolo counties, and our mission is to make sure that we're protecting all residents against mosquitoes and mosquito-transmitted diseases. Last year, we had a record year for West Nile virus, and we're predicting that it might be another intense season this year. So it's very important that we do everything that we can to make sure that we're not being bitten by mosquitoes. Next. All right, so how do we control mosquitoes at the district? Well, we follow what we call an integrated mosquito management approach that includes a variety of elements. The first one is public information, which is what I represent. So my job is to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can to educate and inform residents on what they can do to protect themselves from mosquitoes. Now that we have all these wonderful volunteers, if there are any service groups, I would be more than happy to come out and do a presentation a little bit longer and give more specific information, but I'm also in charge of anything that has to do with our advertising. I do presentations to school groups, to neighborhood associations, and I'm also in charge of just essentially educating and informing the public. We also have an extensive surveillance program that is in charge of tracking and monitoring West Nile virus activity and how it is moving throughout both of our counties. They collect dead birds. They set out mosquito traps to collect the mosquitoes that could be possible positive for West Nile virus, so that's how we're able to see how and where West Nile virus is detected. Our biological control department, they're in charge of all of our mosquito fish. So for those that don't know, mosquito fish are a great resource. They help us control mosquitoes naturally, and mosquito fish are great for ponds, fountains, ponds, creeks, rice fields, anything that holds water is a good home for these fish. Our ecological management department, they work closely with different landowners. They have a variety of tools to make sure that mosquitoes are not breeding in different areas. And then our control operations, that's basically our boots on the ground, our team of technicians that go out and conduct the free home service inspection. So if somebody's having mosquitoes at home, they can go out and conduct a free home service inspection, give you recommendations on what you can do to prevent mosquitoes around your home. So with all of these elements, that's how our district is protecting the residents, by using each of these elements. So as you know, mosquitoes can come from different habitats. Mosquitoes not only breed in agricultural areas, rice fields, creeks, but they also grow in backyard sources, which are the areas that we're most concerned about because we can't be in everybody's backyard. You know, we know where the creeks are, we know where the rice fields are, but we don't know if you have a dog dish that has, stagnant water. A couple of weeks ago, or last weekend, I want to say, it was very rainy, and then all of a sudden it got to be like 80 degrees. So that combination of warm weather and stagnant water is what creates the ideal mosquito breeding conditions. It kind of gives mosquitoes a head start for the season, and it just kind of sets us up to be incredibly busy. So anything that can hold water for more than a few days, like as one of those pictures that you see up there, can and will become a mosquito breeding source. So it needs to be dumped, and that's why we always tell people, very important that at least once a week, everybody do their part and drain sources of stagnant water. Next. All right, so I mentioned earlier that last year we had a record amount of rain in 23, which meant a lot of mosquito breeding sources, and we had lots of West Nile virus activity. So we saw a sharp increase in the amount of cases, not only in our area, but also throughout the state. So there's concern that this might be another long and intense mosquito season. Next. All right, so just to give you an idea, so West Nile virus activity in Citrus Heights, there was not much, luckily. So 8 mosquito samples that tested positive for the virus and 5 dead birds. However, there was lots of activity surrounding the city of Citrus Heights. But I want to point out the numbers for Sacramento and Yolo County. These are human cases of West Nile virus. So 53 human cases in Sacramento County, 39 in Yolo. You can see that is a sharp increase from the previous years. And there was cause for concern. There was also some fatalities. So West Nile virus is one of those diseases that's very debilitating. While 80% of people don't develop any symptoms, 20% of people do, and then 1 in 150 people develop the very severe form of the disease, which can actually lead to death. So, so far, we don't have any West Nile virus activity detected. That will start a little bit later. We usually start to see activity in May, and the activity peaks during the summer months. Next. So you can see that also in California last year, we had 428 human cases. There was 19 fatalities, and it was also a sharp increase if you consider it, or if you look at the numbers for 2022, is actually more than double. So 2023 was an intense year on many fronts, and the CDC estimates that for every case that is confirmed, there are 30 to 70 others that are unconfirmed. So, the numbers could potentially be a lot higher. Next. All right, so if West Nile virus wasn't enough, we also have invasive mosquitoes. So these are non-native mosquitoes. We have 2 species of these mosquitoes that have been in California since 2011, and we discovered them for the very first time in our area, actually here in Citrus Heights for the first time in 2019, and thereafter they have been spreading to many, many different areas throughout our county. We have, our biggest infestation area in Sacramento County happens to be in another, not in Citrus Heights, but in other parts, Rosemont, Arden Arcade, Orangevale, but we know that these mosquitoes can be anywhere. Fortunately, that same year that we found him here in Citrus Heights, we performed extensive surveillance, and then we have not been able to detect these mosquitoes anymore. However, the risk is that with these mosquitoes, since they do transmit new diseases such as Zika, dengue, and chikungunya, that if people travel, or every year we do see these cases, but they're all travel-related cases. However, last year, for the first time ever in California, there were 2 cases of locally acquired dengue in Southern California. So the risk is that if these mosquitoes are here, these are aggressive day-biting mosquitoes that can breed in very small sources, that we would have locally acquired cases of these new diseases. So again, very important that we do our part, that we be diligent and make sure that we're draining any sources of stagnant water around our home, because these mosquitoes, they can breed in as little as a teaspoon of water, which is incredible to think that that little amount can breed mosquitoes, but indeed they do. Next. So I think with that, I was told to keep it brief, so unless you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I would encourage anyone who would like to have these folks come and speak at their group. It's a very entertaining presentation. The history is long and storied when it comes to mosquito vector control. And I think you guys were the first mosquito vector control in the region, correct?
The first one was actually in Marin, Sonoma. Our district began in 1946.
1946.
Yes, and for those of you that don't know, Vice Mayor Dr. Karpinski Costa sits on our board. She's one of our diehard fans and advocates. She's always distributing mosquito repellent, which I did bring for you guys
And I
for
think
any.
Irene's here. Irene, she brought repellent for you.
For any outdoor evening events that you guys might be having. We will also have our booth at the upcoming arcade trail opening. We will also be at Sunday Fun Day, and in the past, we've also done work with your Halloween event with the police department. But again, anybody that would like to request a presentation that's a little bit longer,
Well, you
I'm happy
compete
to
with me,
give
because
that.
I also like to go out and give these presentations, so.
Yes, exactly.
But if you got other things to do, I'll be happy to fill in for you.
Dr. Jana is my cheerleader. I love it. Any other
She's
questions?
a department of one. It's not like she has people that she can send instead of herself, so.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Anything else, Jana?
To remind people too that we do tick control and yellow jacket control if you have, and this is the season for the mama yellow jackets.
Correct. We're trapping for queens.
And I'll just say thank you. Extremely important information. And Dr. Jana does do an extremely good job of keeping the public informed. But we do appreciate you coming out and giving us the bigger picture too. And keep doing your good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good night.
And Irene's in the back, so you can give her the repellent.
All right, next item, please.
Next item is public comment, and if members of the audience wish to address the council during the meeting, they can fill out a speaker identification sheet and give it to myself, the city clerk. Normally, speakers are limited to 5 minutes each. The mayor has the discretion to reduce the allotted time. We have a countdown display that will flash red at the end of the allotted time. Also consistent with the Brown Act, the council is prohibited from engaging in a discussion or taking action on any item not appearing on the agenda. And Mayor, you do have some speaker cards. Some of them are for a later item. I do have one public comment to read for this portion, as well as another one to read for item number 9.
Okay, I'm going to start with the in-person. Mark Russell. Hope I said that last name right. Russell.
Close enough, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you all, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to address the council and you as well. I'm actually here to extend a personal invite. I have been working with Brianna Young and some of the members on your team in getting this information over to you, but she informed me today there's going to be a council meeting, and perhaps you'd like to come and invite the council and the mayor personally. So my name is Mark Roselle, as I said, and we have a brand-new imaging center, a state-of-the-art facility opening up here in Citrus Heights at the corner of Sunrise and Madison, specifically at 7803 Madison Avenue. We are having a ribbon-cutting ceremony on Saturday, June the 1st at 11 a.m. That ceremony is expected to be attended by some local press. We are having some national press as well, AP and PR Wire News, a couple of assemblymen. We are currently in talk with the governor's office to see if he's could possibly attend. Plenty of specialists and physicians in the area. And really what we'd like to do is invite you to attend as well, tour our facility. There'll be some light drinks and beverages and food and appetizers and that sort of thing. Friends, family, and we're really going to open up the facility. We do specifically MRIs, PET scans, CT scans, therodiagnostics, X-ray, and ultrasound. But what's exciting and what we've been proud to bring to Citrus Heights, and we do business with you now, we have a clinic on Greenback Lane, but we're now opening up this specific 15,000 square foot imaging center with state-of-the-art equipment. The kind of equipment that is typically reserved for research institutions and university settings. In fact, our equipment is in Irvine, at UC Irvine, UC San Diego, and we're now going to have it here in Citrus Heights. It will allow us to diagnose cancers earlier, treat them on the same day that they're diagnosed, have better image quality, higher resolution, higher definition. We can detect and see these cancers earlier than ever, and that is, we're very, very proud to bring that to the city of Citrus Heights. We're going to have that ribbon cutting ceremony at 11 a.m. on Saturday, June the 1st. I have sent by email this information, so it should come across your desks. But again, Brianna suggested that perhaps I'd come and make a personal invite, and I said absolutely.
What's the address again? Where are you?
7803 Madison Avenue, and we're really right at the corner of Madison and Sunrise, next to the new Starbucks, and where that northwest corner has been revamped and revitalized with the Little Caesars, and the whole building got a facelift. We've been there actually 3 years. This project has been 3 years in the making. Purchased the building actually in 2021, but as you can imagine, there's quite a bit of regulatory red tape to go through and approvals. The city has been great. We've had a fantastic time working with your permit team, your project team. Incidentally, I did see some of the police officers here. One of the early things we did is we had the building and we were not using it yet, waiting for permits. And we had a little slight call out there. It ended up being nothing. But we met one of the police officers by the name of Jordan Rennick. And he, in turn, is a leader in the K-9 team. Asked if, by the way, do you own the building? And I said, I do. You're not a renter? No, we own the building. We'd love we're always looking for places to train the K-9 units, if we could do something like that with you. And we said, absolutely. It turned into then having the Sacramento County Sheriff, Grass Valley County Sheriff, Nevada County Sheriff, the SWAT team, U.S. Postal Service, and they've been able to use our building to hide various things in there and train the dogs, people, this sort of thing. But that kind of attention and police presence helped keep our building secure during vacant buildings can be particularly susceptible to, vagrants and this sort of thing, but having so many police cars constantly in the parking lot and sheriffs and SWAT, it really kept our building safe while we developed this project. We're very, very excited about it for the city of Citrus Heights and the surrounding community, particularly the seniors in the area, because we are a Medicare-approved site, and really the only one that I'm aware of that also at this level of equipment offers and accepts Medi-Cal patients as well. So some of the lower income folks can still receive those treatments. We have an FQHC, Federally Qualified Health Clinic application in, which will allow us to charge on a sliding scale, and some people can get $4,000 traditionally scans at $7 to $10. We're doing all of that. We'd love to have any of you in attendance. I did speak with perhaps having some of the city manager and their teams there as well. It's on Saturday. The information is and should be in your email boxes soon, but I just came personally to extend the invite as well. Thank you. I see that that's my time.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome, and it's obviously going to be a privilege to have you here.
Great.
And if it's going to include appetizers and beverages,
We
we'll see
are.
you on Saturday, June.
We love to see you on Saturday, June the 1st. Thank you all. Thank you.
And then Amy had a few to read, I think, or something.
I do. I have one to read, and it is from Rick Hodgkins. And he states, as I came to the website to check out tonight's agenda for tonight's meeting, I happened to come across a news release from a month ago which said our congressman and my favorite congressman, Dr. Ame Barra, has just managed to recently secure for our fair city $2.65 million to implement the first of many phases of the Sayonara Housing Project, as well as for intelligent transportation improvements to include 1.3 miles of insulated fiber optic cable. I sure hope that this will eventually be implemented citywide, as that this is important for things like pedestrian accessibility and safety for people with disabilities, including people who are blind.
Okay, is that it on public comment?
For this section, yes.
Okay, all right, next item, please.
Next item is comments by council members and regional board updates.
Councilmember Middleton.
Yes, so you're going to hear a little bit of repetitiveness from most of us. We went to Cap, and we all sat on different committees. My committee was what we consider to be the fun committee, but I promise you, I actually did work with the civic amenities team. This year's goal was talking about transforming underutilized spaces. And we went to places where they transform parking lots, natural spaces, cemeteries, and other land uses. And they were really creative about how they did this. The one that really interested me the most was the Franklin Park area, which it was a community area which was kind of run down. It had a big homeless issue. They reopened it after 2021, after the COVID thing happened. And it was really great because now there's a place where kids can go and play. There's a park area. There's seating that's outside. People can have meetings. There's Wi-Fi access. And that partnership was actually with their local bid, their business improvement district, the national parks, and the DC government. So those three entities, which, bureaucracy and red tape is a lot, were able to figure something out fairly quickly to bring a really great resource to that community. Came back to Sacramento, immediately touched down, went straight over to the Safe Credit Union because it was City Leaders Summit for Cal Cities, which I'm the president of the Sacramento Valley Division, which means I had to sit in on a lot of panels. I'm pretty sure Mary Jane's gonna have a lot of stuff to talk about from those panels there, so I won't get into that. But also we had a great reception for our Black elected officials who came from all across the state of California and to talk about the issues and the things they're seeing in their community and how we can become more engaged. Then Saturday, I went to the United Way Gala, which was United in Purpose. I got to see a lot of folks and listen to a lot of great stories about how Dolly Parton has, really helped transform a lot of families and bringing literacy into areas that are traditionally underserved. And listening to those stories and understanding the impact that United Way has is really, really important. Which leads me into California Housing Partnership Corporation Board meeting, which was yesterday. We talked about, let me find it really quick, the Statewide Housing Advocacy Committee, which is called SHAC. We didn't really think that acronym out too well, but okay. So SHAC brings housing advocates from all across the state to develop transformative housing strategies to provide all Californians with a decent and affordable place to live. And they've actually partnered with the United Way of Greater LA. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to partner with the United Way right here in the Sacramento region. It's important because we understand that, on this board, we understand that we can't use revenue sources to solve all our problems. We really have to use our local housing alliances and partners and developers to help build this housing. And the goal is to make sure that no one's spending more than a third of their income on housing. And that's how we feel that the data shows that we can really make a dent in the housing crisis that we have going on right now. And that is it.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Lopez Taff.
All right, so yes, we were all at the Cap to Cap program, and the teams I was on were economic development and workforce and education. In economic development, I participated in a meeting at the federal department level for the CHIPS program, and that is where they are encouraging and funding microchip and Councilmember Schaefer will be the expert in this, but he missed the meeting that day, so I had to sit in, where they are approving the dollars to create microchip manufacturing across the nation. And that's very exciting for economic development because that becomes an economic engine in the region that's funded and hosts those particular businesses. We have applications that we're hoping to advocate for, and we are told very specifically by their legal team that they were not the deciding body. And so we got to hear a lot about the CHIPS program and that some answers to applications will be forthcoming. The other group that I participated in was a workforce and education team. Very exciting meeting in the area of career and technical education and what that looks like from the federal level. And we got into a meeting with a gentleman who was the head of the department at the federal level. And, you know, it's very rare that you talk to the head of the department at the federal level, but it's even rarer that he was so familiar with our school districts and our community here locally in the Sacramento region. And so that was very productive to hear his ideas and his feedback into the future of CTE programs and what we can do to encourage that. And that, of course, was an interest of mine in light of our conversations about education in Citrus Heights. I also came back, just like Councilmember Middleton mentioned, to our City Leaders Summit. And while I did attend very, very interesting panel discussions, the one that sticks out is the conversation about creative response to the homeless issue and housing or other types of programs in response to homelessness. And so while I parse that information out, I'll report back. The other interesting meeting I had was with Assemblyman Hoover, and talking about education again, because he is on the Education Committee, and his take on landlord-tenant laws. I know that's been in the news and the forefront of my mind as we look at how do we ease the housing crisis, but the lawful landlord, you know, how do you hang on to your property without accidentally having it seized through someone who claims squatters' rights? And so those were great conversations, and the Assemblyman is looking at forwarding several bills in that regard. So very, very productive meetings there. And today I attended my SAC Library Board meeting. The one thing of note is that they are in labor negotiations for benefits to their staff, and that will be ongoing for the next couple months.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Schaefer.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jane, for the intro into the CHIPS and Science Act. Yes, I am deeply involved in and excited about the CHIPS and Science Act. This is a measure that was passed by Congress in 2022. This is $280 billion. It's a very, very large sum. And we've been waiting with bated breath for the Department of Commerce and the National Science Foundation to release the notification of funding opportunity. And so it came December 1st and it closed on February 1st. And it was a very short time frame. As I talked to some of the manufacturers that I work with, hardly anybody knew that the opportunity for funding was open. And by the time they scrambled to try to get it, quite honestly, it's my understanding from one of the congressman's offices that only six contracts or 6 awards were made through that. Only about $60 billion were awarded, and none of it came to California. Intel got $8 billion. And Intel is technically a California company, but they actually are, it's going to Colorado and Oregon and all the different regions. So upside is, so we had a great meeting with the National Science Foundation. This fall, they are introducing another SLEP. That was Division A of the CHIPS Act. This is Division D, and Division D talks about funding opportunities for automation, for funding opportunities for what's called additive manufacturing. This is kind of like 3D printing for metal. So you can design parts and components that you could never make out of a constituent metal. Because it's made with this very specific kind of process. There are, one of the companies that uses this, it's in their arms, it's part of the cooling system of a deep sea ROV, deep sea robot. These are built in Davis. These can go down to 20,000 feet, down deeper than the Titanic. They were used in the Gulf for capping the oil well when we had the big Event Horizon issue down there. So they actually have these parts that are 3D printed or not 3D printed, additive manufacturing. It's crazy expensive for those parts. Those parts are probably $30,000 one part. The part's this big. So really not a terribly cost-effective technology right now, but nonetheless, the more funding we can get towards that, the more we can develop, the better we can do about bringing down the costs and making this a really viable technology. So I'm very excited about that. And again, they did call it the Chips and Science Act, so there is, and what I'm talking about is, it's interesting, we don't have a lot of manufacturing here in Citrus Heights, but we do have a lot of people who work in manufacturing live in Citrus Heights. A lot. When we were recruiting for our apprenticeship program, we did outreach on Craigslist and all different kinds of ways. I wrote an article for our Sentinel. We had 13 candidates come out of, every single one of these candidates came right out of Citrus Heights. So we have a very good workforce here, and again, this impacts all of our average median income will be directly impacted by this kind of work. So I'm very excited about it. Anyway, you can see I did come back right back, got back late Wednesday night, Thursday morning. We had a SACOG meeting. It was a little bit controversial. We're talking about the blueprint, and the blueprint is projecting out to 2050. What can we do? What can we do to enhance transit? What can we do? So how can we? It's really difficult to bring transit to people. So the idea behind the blueprint is you want to move people to transit corridors. My concern is anytime you concentrate a lot of people into one area, all of the costs for housing go up. And so it makes it really challenging when we try to put so many people in one spot. It makes it really challenging to keep those costs low. So nonetheless, we're still having that discussion. We'll have another discussion about it next month. But it's a very active and important conversation to have. So with that, Mayor, that's all I had.
Thank you, sir, very much. Vice Mayor Karpinski-Costa.
I did not go to Washington. I was the designated survivor.
In the bunker.
And I got to do Monday with the mayor, and thank you, callers. It was mostly phone calls this time, which is fine. I get all my mail done, and Natalie came and kept me company for a while. I did go to our mosquito meeting, and I don't need to report on that because we had our speaker. I had breakfast with Sue Frost, and I had coffee with Sherry, the CEO lady, so I've been networking while these guys were networking across country. Councilmember Schaefer, I was going to say Councilmember Tim, Councilmember Schaefer and I and the mayor and the city manager attended a veterans volunteer appreciation. This is Volunteer Week, so the people who volunteer at the Veterans Community Center were recognized, and so we did go to that lunch. I went to my neighborhood meeting. Our speaker was Sergeant Kassan, the head of the traffic unit, and I had some notes on traffic, and I will bring them next time because I forgot them. And I think when you guys go away, I didn't have much to do, so. And there was no sewer meeting yesterday, so that was that.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Vice Mayor Karpinski-Costa, for filling in on Mondays in the Mayor.
It was nice. I enjoyed
And,
that.
and appreciate that greatly.
And it was nice of you to instigate that
Yeah.
system. It's a nice system.
Thank you. I just give you an update on that. I feel that's going very well. One of the things that has been enlightening during that meeting is homeless people are coming by, and we're having some chats, and we're talking about some things, and that's a good thing, because I think it's giving them an opportunity to let their guard down a little bit, is how I'll put it, and tell me some things about what's going on and how things might improve in that direction. So hopefully we can kind of grow that a little bit. Attended my neighborhood Area 3 meeting recently. Very good group, good little crowd, and hopefully that association, as I like to call it still, will continue to grow. I did have an air board meeting this morning. Main thing out of that is the budget. We saw the first rendition of the budget to come up, and I can't even tell you what the amount is. It's either 60 million, 100 million. It's just, the money comes in from so many different directions that, and then it's not certain, and it's certain, and it's, so it's somewhere between 60 and 100 million dollars, but lots of money being spent to keep your air clean. And then on cap to cap, I just want to, in case, I'm sure there's people out there wondering like, what is cap to cap? And that's capital to capital from Sacramento to Washington DC. And for the last 52 years, a group has gotten together and done that program. And this year, it's over 400 of us went back. Over 100 were elected officials. And what we do is we meet with the people who make decisions on where our tax dollars go to. And so we're back there lobbying, hopefully, to get things. I sat on the public safety team, met with the cops people from the Department of Justice, also met with Congresswoman Matsui, Congressman Barra, and representatives from Congressman LaMalfa's office. And we talked about things, again, involving public safety that included technology, grants, mental health, and drones. And I want to point this part out, that mental health in law enforcement and fire, public safety for this team is law enforcement and fire. But public safety, mental health issues are becoming more and more recognized as important, and what those people have to go through during their careers, and how that can affect things throughout their careers and their lives after that. So more and more it's being recognized, more funds are coming in that direction, and that's a good thing. And hopefully that's something that we can take advantage of more in Citrus Heights. I think we do some good stuff with that now, and we can only just do even better. And so hopefully we'll be able to follow that up and do some good things. And with that, I think I'll just stop there. Next item, please.
The next item is consent calendar items 6, 7, and 8.
Would any council members like any items pulled from the consent calendar?
Pull item 7 for a separate vote.
Item 7, okay, any others? Hearing none, I'll take a motion on items 6 and 8.
Move approval?
Second?
It's been moved by Councilmember Schaefer, seconded by Councilmember Middleton for items 6 and 8. Any questions or comments on the motion? If none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? That passes. Item 7, are you looking for just a separate vote? Yeah. Can you go ahead and call out that item, please, Amy?
Sure. Item 7 is the second reading of an ordinance amending the municipal code regarding city council compensation.
Okay, any motions on that?
Move approval?
Second?
It's been moved by Councilmember Schaefer and seconded by Councilmember Lopez Taff. Any questions or comments on the motion? I'll make a comment. It's about time. It's been 38 years since council members have had a pay raise, so I think it's about time. And with that, roll call vote, please.
I make a-
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Make a comment real quick. And also, this does not affect any of us that's currently sitting on the council. You have to be reelected in order to receive any additional pay. So,
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Lopez Taff,
Yes.
Councilmember Middleton,
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer,
yes.
Vice Mayor Karpinski Costa.
No, and I'll make my comment. We didn't have to go all the way to 19, so we never discussed going less. So I might have approved over 600, but not quite all the way to the tippity top with 5% every year after that. I just don't think that we counted the other 600 that we get. So I'm a no.
And Mayor Daniels.
Aye. Yes. Next item, please.
Next item is regular calendar, item number 9. The subject is Neighborhood Improvement Partnership Fund applications. The recommendation, there's 3 resolutions for council consideration. A resolution to approve Neighborhood Improvement Partnership funding for Chant Area 3. A resolution to approve Neighborhood Improvement Partnership funding for John Kane in Area 4. And approve a resolution approving Neighborhood Improvement Partnership funding for Sunrise Ranch Area 6.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Megan Huber, Economic Development and Community Engagement Director. I want to lead off this agenda item by saying it is related to our Neighborhood Improvement Partnership. 2 of the 3 requests for consideration this evening relate to attendance at a Neighborhoods USA conference. That was an agenda item this past council meeting, and council gave direction to staff to come back with a policy. We heard you, and all comments were noted. That will be coming back to you before the end of the fiscal year. This item before you, the requests had already been received and were in processing for review, which is why they're before you this evening. So the city's Neighborhood Improvement Partnership Grant encourages residents to shape their neighborhoods by beautifying public spaces, enhancing aesthetics, increasing engagement and community connection, among other things within the grant guidelines. And the city received 2 applications for the NIP fund to attend Neighborhood USA Conference in Lubbock, Texas in May of this year. We received a 3rd application from Sunrise Ranch Area 6 to replace sign toppers in their neighborhood. In total, the requests are $6,508.01.
Glad we got that 1 cent.
I know, accuracy, it counts, it counts. All 3 requests were reviewed utilizing our grant and incentive program scoring rubric to ensure they met eligibility requirements, and scores above 29 or above, point value of 35 are recommended to Quality of Life for review, who then reviewed them on April 11th. And for the NUSA conference requests, 1 committee member supported approval, while 1 recommended denial of both requests. And then both committee members recommended approval of the sign topper application. The staff recommendation, given the rubric scoring, is that council approve all 3 applications for the Neighborhood Improvement Program funding. And with that, we have a series of 3 resolutions that I'm happy to toggle between for reference.
Okay, I do have some public comment on this, but any council members, questions or comments before we go to any of
I have a
that?
question. When did the word partnership come in instead of projects? It used to be neighborhood improvement projects.
I can't answer that offhand.
Partnership work in that way?
I believe it was pulled from a previous copy of the guidelines.
I don't have that copy.
Okay. Okay, I have 1 speaker here, John Kane.
Good evening, Mayor and honorable council members. I was a little shaking in my seat when I saw my name on the public agenda, but it was suggested I come here tonight. I wish, we've been living in the city, owned a home for 17 years. I wish that I had been involved in our community all 17 years because I realize the importance of it. I went to I was a secretary of Area 9 back in the day for 2 years, but I didn't live in Area 9, and I didn't understand the importance and the role that neighborhood associations and active community members can have in bettering our city. So I'm very thankful for the opportunity to try to get Area 4 started back up. It was recommended to me 3 months ago to attend this conference. I talked to a couple people. I'm very thankful to Mrs. Uber and Courtney Riddle for their help in filling out the application. I had no idea what I was doing. I did it late, so I'm very thankful for that. I also wanted to thank the city. I drove by the library. I drive by the library probably more than you. Well, no, less than you. But it is wonderful to see how it looks now. My kids, we took our kids there 3-4 times a week when they were growing up. And to see parents now go to the library and get in their car and not go in 6 months ago and a year ago, and to see what the city, I don't know who is totally behind it, but I know we've cooperated with the county. I'm very thankful for the city staff and what they did at the library, and for this opportunity to go to this conference. I think it'll be valuable and it'll be helpful to our city. Thank you.
Wanted to ask you, John, can you come back up? So you're Area 4?
Yes,
Is area-
hope to be Area 4. I live in Area 4, yes.
So can you explain what's going on with Area 4? Are you currently meeting at all?
So what we've done is we have 2 officers now that are in place to become officers. I've recruited other people. They haven't gotten back to me because you have to have 3 board members. So we meet with Area 3, and we decided with Kelsey Nelson to cooperate with Area 3 on various things and have our meeting at the same time to minimize what the city has to do as far as coming out more and getting speakers and everything else. We're combined. So that's what we're doing. We're going door to door. We have a flyer set up. We're talking to our neighbors, and the funny thing is, I don't know what everybody else's experience is, but it's very interesting to me when I talk to a neighbor that I've known like for over 15 years and new neighbors, and you talk about getting involved in the city and what's happening. The glazed eye look, it's so interesting to me because now looking back, I wish that I had been involved all these years supporting our police, supporting our staff, supporting you folks, voting. I mean, I've always voted. So to answer your question, we're meeting with Area 3. We're working on our project on the sound walls. We're hoping to paint them or do something. She knows exactly what we're going to do. And that's what we're doing.
So it's fair to say you're resurrecting Area 4,
Yes, sir.
and it's been dormant for quite some time, I believe.
Yes, sir.
And you're just kind of learning the process.
Learning the process and recruiting.
Okay.
I have a
Any
question.
questions?
I have a question too. Have you looked at the sessions being offered at Noosa?
If I go in May,
Yes. Did you look at the program?
I've looked at the online and what the schedule is and when I'm supposed to get there.
And what sessions do you think would help you with your Area 4 neighborhood?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
I can tell you there's none there that are going to help you get a neighborhood going, okay?
Okay,
They are more for neighborhoods who exist and project ideas on how to utilize your talents.
my particular talents or the neighborhood's talents?
Remember we did our asset building? And
yep.
it's kind of like that kind of stuff.
I don't, the people that have helped me.
I think you might be misinformed as to think that this conference is going to help you get your neighborhood organized.
No, that's not the reason to go. I've already gotten all the help I need to resurrect the neighborhood association from other.
Why did you wait so long to apply? Because now the registration is costs more.
Because I didn't know. I didn't know anything about it, because I was just going to the Area 3 meetings. But yeah, the goal to go is to simply be more effective in my community. Dr. Costa.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Thank you, Mayor. And I went to Noosa, that's Neighborhoods USA, back in, I accompanied Dr. Jana to Eugene, Oregon. I think that it is a great reflection of what a neighborhood can be. You have opportunities to go and tour neighborhoods. In that particular, you're going to Lubbock, Texas.
Right.
You'll get to kind of go and see what their neighborhoods look like, see what kind of participation they have. So it's an example. And Area 4 used to be pretty active. They would have 20 or 25 people at their meetings.
Yeah, we went, when we first moved here, we went at the old city hall.
And I completely hear what you're saying. You know, I'm out doing yard work and somebody walks by and I'm like, hey, did you know there's a neighborhood association? I'm just trying to walk my dog. Don't talk to me. So I get that. I think it's an eye-opening experience. It really is, to see what other neighborhoods do, how they're capable of it. And I've had the conversations with folks on how do you get people involved while I'm there. While there may not be a workshop on that particular issue, that is a topic of sort of an impromptu discussion you can have with
Yeah.
folks to say, hey, what's the motivation? How do we sort of break this barrier of people? And you got to find out what motivates people to get, what do they care about? What do people in your neighborhood care about?
So I would say that the people locally that are already involved in neighborhood associations have given me some fantastic tips. I would defer to the council. It was recommended, Dr. Jana, Vice Mayor, that I go. That's why I applied. I didn't even know I needed to apply. So if it's not going to help us motivate and I want to defer
And
to
the
the
other problem
council.
is it comes out of the funding that neighborhoods use for their projects.
Yeah, and I
so-
defer to the council. I just was
and
suggested I
it
apply,
depletes
and I
that
did.
fund, and the fund, it's still April, it's lots of projects still could be proposed and now cannot.
Yeah. So anyway, I do
Councilmember Lopez
defer,
Taft.
so that's, I do defer to the council's wisdom on this and vote.
Now you're waving for her.
Yes.
I tapped my finger to be to be fair.
Councilmember Middleton.
I think it's great that you want to go. I believe that in order to be able to tell a story to your neighbors, in order to say this is what we can be, you have to have something to look at and to see. You have to have some ideas. You have to be able to go out and talk to other people who may have had the same struggles and found creative ways to do that. And the only way for you to be able to do that is to actually attend the conference, get that vibe, feel what's going on, and then bring that passion, that energy right back and infuse it into the neighborhood area. What do we call them, areas now? Areas. There we go. Yeah, the neighborhood area 4.
Arcade Creek.
Yeah, Arcade Creek. Let's do it. I understand the reasoning, and I understand why it was recommended for you to go. Because I've talked to Natalie and other folks who have gone, and the ideas that they've brought back have actually helped to magnify what's going on and actually help to have spark other neighborhood associations that were kind of dragging to become re-engaged. Like we have the movie nights that are coming up and all these other great things that come out of this. So good on you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Am I dismissed?
You are dismissed. Written comments?
I have one written comment for this item. It is from Rick Hodgkins, and he states, "After reading the item number and analysis on the agenda, it is just my understanding, if I'm not mistaken, that one of the areas chosen for improvement is Area 6, Sunrise Ranch. After doing some additional research, I found out that this is my neighborhood. I will tell you that on the east side of Sunrise Boulevard, about half of a mile north of Antelope, that the sidewalk ends, which is dangerous and unsafe. I cannot help but wonder if property owners flat out refuse to have a sidewalk in front of their properties. If so, the city can do it and put liens on their properties should they choose to sell and uproot at some point in the near future." And that concludes the written comment.
All right, thank you very much. So we are at motion time, I believe, aren't we?
So Mayor, I just have one more question for staff.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what is between now, so we're talking the end of April, so we have May and June.
Yes.
How much money is left in the fund should we award the $6,500?
There will be about $2,000.
So, and this money has been available since July 1st of last year,
That's correct.
correct? So I would say that if somebody is interested in this money, it's $2,000, but if they haven't applied for it already, what are they waiting for? So,
Any other questions, comments?
I can answer the question that council member, okay, so Area 10 has a project pending, but we waited for the new park director because it involves the park director. And then it involved some vandalism at the park that needs to be repaired before we can do our project. It involves an Eagle Scout project, which we're waiting for the high school, finish the semester to get started. So we would have needed more than the money left in the pot.
Dr. Karpinski-Costa, if I can offer, this fiscal year, 23-24, is unique for us, in my experience, administering these funds so far, in so much as our community support program had an undersubscription, which leaves us about a 30.
This is where that should have come from. And then the NIP money should be for the neighborhood improvement projects. It's coming out of the wrong pot.
Well, my offering is that there are additional funds available outside
the
of that
offering.
$2,000
We'll take the
balance.
We'll take the offering. Don't you go spend that now.
Well, it doesn't sound like this might not happen before the end of the fiscal year, so maybe
It
after
will.
July 1st, you have a whole new pot to work with.
No, well, that will be the bench that we had to forego for this year because there's definitely not enough for a bench. So, but we need some braille signs and that takes some money.
Would love to assist with an application.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments, questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Let's go ahead and break these up into three.
Okay.
Councilmember
Move
Schaefer.
approval on the first item.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Schaefer and seconded by Councilmember Lopez Taff as to adoption of letter A resolution. Any questions or comments to that?
This is the gal who went last year,
This is area 3.
the gal who went last year.
Okay?
Okay.
I don't see a gal, but I see,
Well,
Area.
you didn't read her application then?
well, I'm just reading the motion. Okay, any questions or comments regarding the motion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lopez Taff.
Yes.
Councilmember Middleton.
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Karpinski Costa.
No.
Mayor Daniels.
Yes. Any other motions?
I'll make the motion, adopt resolution 2024, a resolution of City Council of the City of Citrus Heights, California, approving neighborhood improvement partnership funding for John Kane Arcade Creek Area 4.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Schaefer, seconded by Councilmember Lopez Taff. Any questions or comments to the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lopez Taff.
Yes.
Councilmember Middleton.
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Karpinski Costa.
I'm swayed to yes.
Mayor Daniels.
I'm swayed to yes, too.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Another motion.
I move adopt resolution 2024, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights, California, approving neighborhood improvement partnership funding for Sunrise Ranch Area 6.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Schaefer, seconded by Councilmember Lopez Taff. Any questions or comments regarding the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lopez Taff.
Yes.
Councilmember Middleton.
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Karpinski Costa.
This is what NIP money is for, yes.
And Mayor Daniels.
Yes. Next item, please.
Next item, the subject is a resolution approving community projects grant awards. There are 3 resolutions for council consideration. The first is a resolution to award community projects grant funds for fiscal year 23-24. A resolution to award community support funds for fiscal year 23-24, and a resolution to award history and arts funds for fiscal year 23-24.
Good evening again, Council. I have one more bundle of exciting community projects and initiatives for consideration. Our Community Projects Grant Program was first launched to the public in March of last year. We received 12 applications. We approved 5, totaling a little over $27,000 in funding, and replenished that grant funding to again equal $50,000 for round 2 of Community Projects grants. These are the round 1 award recipients. The second round of funding availability for the Community Projects Grant opened at the end of February and closed at the end of March. We received 12 applications. Applications were reviewed utilizing the Grant and Incentive Program scoring rubric, which you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, to ensure that applications met the program's eligibility requirements and demonstrated the ability to create community connection and engagement, the primary goal of the program. On April 11th, the City Council Quality of Life Committee met to review staff recommendations for this bundle of applications, and that recommendation is included in the staff report and attachments of this agenda item. Applicants with scores above 23 were recommended to Quality of Life Committee for award. And as a result, the committee recommended awarding $67,000 to 10 community groups. I want to take a moment to provide some budget background information. I'm sure council's doing the math right now that our recommendation is $67,000 for a $50,000 program. And that is because a couple of projects matched multiple grant programs that we offer. So we're doing some creative combinations to be able to make as much happen as possible. The recommendation for a couple of applications come out of what I previously referenced as the floating balance of our community support fund. That's the highlighted $30,000 that you see. Additionally, we still have the full amount allocation of our history and arts grant of $20,000. So this is a summary of projects that are recommended to council for approval. There is a great wide swath from arts projects, nonprofit projects, youth projects, all bringing our community together in different and exciting ways. The recommended award amount on screen totals $50,000. That will ensure full subscription of the community project grant. If you'll note, there's an asterisk next to the $1,000 at the top for a mural project. We're recommending the remainder be funded using the History and Arts grant, which you can see here on the second screen. That would be a $2,000 balance. Additionally, we received 2 applications that are a good match for that community support floating balance totaling $17,000. Detailed descriptions of projects were included in the staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions as well. And we have a bundle of recommendations, one covering each of the 3 funding sources recommended.
Okay, thank you very much. I do have some public comment. Any questions or comments for staff before we go to public comment?
I might have questions if somebody's here from, my question on the thrift store, is it a store or is it storage? Do you know? Storage, or is it a store that's going in?
At the mall?
No, at the Veterans Center.
That-
I heard storage and this says store.
I'm just checking for any attendees, and I'm happy to answer that question with the information that I have. There is an approved building permit for storage. It's our understanding that it would be used to store those items, which would be deployed on an event basis.
Okay, but it's not an open store that people go to on a daily basis.
Not to our understanding, and we would also ensure that any grant award amount is honoring any stipulations on an approved entitlement.
Storage is good, all right. That was my question.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call up April Jasek.
Evening, Council. I'm April Jasek. I'm the Director of Sunrise Christian Food Ministry. I'd like to thank you for your ongoing support and dynamic partnership that you have with the Food Closet. As you know, food insecurity in Citrus Heights is continuing to increase, and we've reached out to our partners at the school district as well as some of our food desert areas in the city, and found that there's actually a need for us to bring food to those places. So the grant that we applied for would be to purchase a trailer that would make it easier for us to deliver these items to these areas. Currently, we're working with Vintage Oaks, Sayonara Center, and we've just started talks to work with Sunrise Point. So in addition to our partnerships with Title I schools and the McKinney-Vento programs to offer nutrition support to those area schools in our city. So thank you for considering our application.
Thank you.
Any questions?
A question? Go ahead.
So this trailer would be used to deliver food to a school campus or to what's the?
Yes, so currently, it takes resources away from the school that we work with. We work with Mesa, Sylvan, Kingswood, I think those are the main ones, and San Juan. It takes resources of personnel to come down and get the food from us. where if we had the ability to transport when they have a need, they have a certain group of families that are in need, or if they have, before the food bank used to come and they do like Produce to You events, that all went away with COVID. So we're hoping to work out something where we could have those partnerships come back and bring nutrition to the school sites instead of relying on parents and school personnel to come and collect from us. We're really hoping to continue to teach families how to fish and to gather resources on their own instead of relying on the school district to gather up all these resources for them.
So, as a follow-up, is there any participating from the school district on this kind of program? Are they
So-
participating too?
Not necessarily at the school district level. They defer down to the school sites. They have neighborhood resource people at their sites that contact us, and we work together in partnership. Currently, with this new transportation, we'll be able to expand the offering to the actual neighborhoods where the schools are at.
Thank you.
Does our award cover the entire cost of your trailer, or
Yes, it'll cover the cost of the trailer.
you're going to put our city symbol in on the side of that trailer?
Definitely could
Maybe the
put
mayor's face? I don't-
our partnerships that have made it possible, definitely we can do that. It'll include wrapping it as well, so that
Oh, that's
it's
cool.
also a billboard for the services that we offer on site, so that anybody seeing the trailer, same as our truck that we
Well, we
pick
could,
up
we take a
donations.
small one, but you got to stick the city symbol on there.
Sure, no problem. It's a wonderful partnership that we have with you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is Jenny Smith.
Good evening. I'm Jenny Smith with Junior Achievement of Sacramento, where we inspire and prepare young people to succeed. We have business volunteers and mentors that go into classrooms, coupled with our many economic empowerment programs and our experiential learning lessons to help get kids on the right track to career success and financial independence. And as we know, financial independence is a little bit harder now for kids, because how many of us are still paying for our kids' cell phone bills, or helping them pay with their car insurance, or helping them buy their first car? So that's what we're here for. We want to get kids on the right foot before they graduate. I'm here on behalf of Susan Nelson, our president, because right now, currently, as we speak, we have one of our biggest events going on at your wonderful community center that has all the tech that we need for our JA Stock Market Challenge. And that's where she is right now, so she apologizes for not being able to be here. So JA Take Stock in Your Future. This morning, we had a challenge. We have teams, through high school students throughout the Sacramento region, that participated this morning in the Stock Market Challenge. And if you could only see the excitement level in the room, it was amazing. So we've got all these teams of high school students. We've got them yelling for traders, because it's a simulation of the stock exchange floor. They're yelling for traders. We have traders running around the floor, making transactions in real time. We've got notifications coming of these world events that are happening, and the kids have to decide really quick, do I trade, do I buy, do I sell? And in preparation for this event, they had 6 weeks of curriculum. We have business volunteers and experts in financial advisors, bankers, investors that go into the classroom and teach these kids all about investing and the stock market. So that's how they prepared for the event. And I'm happy to report that the second and third place winners were teams from Mesa Verde High School, right here in Citrus Heights. So yeah, they should be congratulated. And tonight, the reason Susan is not here is tonight is our stock market challenge for our business community, our business partners. And they are doing the same type of competition, except it is a fundraising. There's fundraising capabilities in tonight's event. So we have a full menu of programs, starting anywhere from kindergarten, where we teach them about wants and needs, all the way up to college. Matter of fact, we have 5 college teams competing in the stock market challenge tonight against professionals who are investors and financial advisors. So I'm really rooting for those college teams. What we did with the money that we refunded so graciously from you, from the city of Citrus Heights last year, we did what's called a JA launch lesson at Skycrest Elementary School. We had entrepreneurs come to the school, and the kids learned about entrepreneurship. Because kids see, they see the professions that are visible. They see the teachers and the firefighters and the police officers, which are all very honorable and very great occupations. And we are here to open up the door to show them all the possibilities that match their talents and their interests. So the JA launch lessons sparked their curiosity about entrepreneurship and gave them ideas of things they could start doing now to start their own small business. So I'm just here tonight to say thank you for the funding in the past, and we look forward to the potential of continuing the sponsorship to grow our relationship and even reach more kids in Citrus Heights this year. And I'm available to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then Amy, I think you had some written ones?
Not for this item.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to take 3 items. One of them is going to require some further action. Can we take B and C first? The second and third first, and then handle? Okay, any comments or questions regarding the matter? Anything for Megan or anything? Okay, any motions on number B, letter B?
I move we adopt a resolution of the City Council of Citrus Heights, California to award community support funds for fiscal year 23-24.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Middleton and seconded by Vice Mayor Karpinski-Costa. Any comments or questions regarding the motions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. Next motion, please.
I move we adopt a resolution of the City Council of God, darn. Rewind.
Got it?
I can read, I swear. I moved we adopt a resolution of the City Council of Citrus Heights, California to award History and Arts funds for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Middleton, seconded by Councilmember Lopez Taft. Any questions or comments regarding the motion?
Yeah, I'm thinking about all the people who pledged money for that mural. They could just dump it into that fund and make the fund grow if they were interested, because we could use history and arts. They'll probably have some other projects we can fund with it.
Or
Anyway,
make
that was
the-
my,
Or make the mural even bigger.
make the mural bigger. There you go.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. I think you have to declare a conflict.
Yeah, like, where are you going?
All right. Okay, so for item A, 10A, I do have to recuse myself because of a relationship.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, just under the supplemental disclosure rules, that the recusal is based, as the councilwoman stated, on a pre-existing employment relationship with a proposed grantee under sub A. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, any motions regarding letter A?
I'll make a motion that we award the community project grant funds for 23-24.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved by Vice Mayor Karpinski-Costa, seconded by Councilmember Middleton. Any questions or comments to the motion?
I just want to say that the veteran training that's going to come in, I thought she was going to come tonight and describe her program. It's a wonderful program. I have experienced it, and I hope the veterans take advantage of this opportunity to take this training. It's wonderful.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Let me get Jane back.
In fact, it was a 3-day workshop, and at the end, my husband took it with me. Are you here for that? Well, you didn't speak to it. We'll ask the mayor if you can. She didn't know about filling out a card. She just.
Sure, come on up, speak. You bet.
It's a wonderful program. You can tell us about it.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Christina Devi, and for the International Association of Human Values and for the Project Welcome Home Troops, thank you for approving the funding for it. It's a program developed just for veterans and the veterans' family members and community. It's a 3-day workshop, 15 hours, that we do. And it's really to help the veterans get, people coming from wars or who haven't been reacclimate into the society. The program is designed, and it's over 100 independent research has been done on the effects of this program, which is breath-based, to help them with stress, PTSD, anxiety, and just building a community, able to communicate with each other, able to communicate with their family members and the community itself. It's a wonderful program. We have helped thousands of veterans. The program is free through funding grants like this and other resources, just volunteers donating their time or donating money to help veterans, take this program itself. So we're looking forward to it. I know that there's thousands of veterans that reside in this community itself. We'll provide this program free of cost to them. There will be introduction sessions, so that way everyone's aware of this program, and then we'll conduct 3 different programs within the next 12 months to completion, which will allow 75 veterans to take the Sky Resilience Program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So my husband and I took this 15-hour training, and at the end, he was nicer to me, so it works.
It works. Yes. Thank you.
All right, next item, please.
Next item is regular calendar, item number 11. The subject is change in regular city council meeting and regular planning commission meeting schedule. The recommendation is to adopt a resolution changing the day of the week for regular meetings of the city council and regular meetings of the planning commission. And good evening, Mayor and City Council Member Amy Van, City Clerk. Upon review of their current city council meeting schedule, staff has found that there are regional board meetings that council participates in, conferences, summer park activities, community group events that generally take place on Thursdays. Staff further evaluated the possibility of moving city council meetings to the second and fourth Wednesdays of each month to provide the city council and staff an opportunity to participate in meetings and events that fall on the second and fourth Thursday. As a part of this research, staff spoke with the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Commission, which broadcasts our meetings live on Metro Cable 14, and they confirmed that if the council moved to the second and fourth Wednesday, they would continue to be able to broadcast our meetings live. And we will also continue to live stream them live on our YouTube channel. In addition to this, if the council meetings were to move to the second and fourth Wednesdays, it would conflict with planning commission meetings that are currently held on the second and fourth Wednesdays. So staff is proposing that the planning commission meetings be moved to the second and fourth Tuesday, which is the same week of the council, just the day before the city council meeting. And if adopted, staff is proposing to make the change effective with after July 1st of 2024, and staff would engage in a robust communications effort to notify the public through our various communications channels. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions or comments?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Council Member Schaefer, seconded by Vice Mayor Karpinski Costa. Just a question or comment on it. Obviously, we did, but I just want to make sure that we interacted with all the planning commissioners, and they are all able to move their meetings to Tuesdays without having to resign or anything like that.
Correct. Staff did check with the planning commission members, and there was no concern from any of the planning commissioners with moving to the second and fourth Tuesday.
Very good. Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes. So after July 1st, beginning with our first meeting in July, we will meet on Wednesdays. Somebody will need to call me Wednesday at 5 p.m. Believe me, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Okay, next item, please.
Our next item is department report, item number 12. The subject is Police Department Annual Report.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Alex Turcott, your Chief of Police. And tonight we'll be giving an overview annual report for 2023 from the Police Department. Before we get started, I just want to take a minute to acknowledge some of the people that we have in the room here today. We'll be talking a lot about what our wonderful staff is able to accomplish out in the community every single day throughout the report, but really behind the scenes, our leadership team and our support personnel really help to make all that happen. So with me tonight is Senior Management Analyst Cassandra Canan. She works out of my office and makes sure that all the T's and I's are dotted and the money goes to the right place. So very important position. She does an excellent job with that. In the back of the room, we have some of our leadership team. Commander Chris Fry, who's currently running our Special Services Division. Acting Commander Sean Gualco, who's acting in our Operations Division. Lieutenant Ken Lewis in the back, he's currently our Watch Commander. And our Police Services Managers, Chella Cottrell and Tiffany Campbell. So just really couldn't get it done without them and can't say much. We appreciate all that you do for us, guys. Tonight, we'll discuss a little bit of the overall landscape that we had in 2023 for public safety and police services. Celebrate some leadership promotions we were able to achieve. 2023 goals and accomplishments. A brief overview of department statistics, including crime statistics and some other accomplishments. Highlight some equipment and technology new items in 2023. A little bit about our community engagement. And then looking forward to 2024 and what we expect to be able to accomplish this year. A quick landscape. Here's an organizational chart of the police department. Office of the Chief there at the top. Our patrol division, our operations division, our special services division. So operations handles basically everything that's field oriented, from our patrol operations, our traffic unit, and our communications center. Special services is our investigators, our impact team, records, data compliance, code enforcement, and our animal services. Our total position number is 145. That's including 89 sworn and 56 professional staff. Starting off with challenges in the landscape, obviously it's not news to council because you've been there with us every step of the way helping out with these issues. We had low staffing numbers in 2021 and trying to come out of the pandemic and pull our staffing numbers back. Hiring has definitely been a challenge, and that's not specific to Citrus Heights. That's a challenge in the law enforcement industry, and for many people that own businesses, they'll tell you it's a challenge just nationwide right now to be able to get good applicants. So with law enforcement, no difference. There's less applicants applying for police officer positions. Minimal lateral officer candidates. There's not as many laterals out there as there were before. The department has now switched to a predominantly, because of the market, entry-level positions as opposed to laterals, which means, we've been putting people through the police academy and funding that position, but it also means it takes a lot longer to go from an entry-level person to a fully trained police officer, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Another challenge is during COVID, a lot of the part-time police academies that were run out of colleges shut down, and then our local full-time academies are having some challenges where they're oversubscribed and impacted, so that's something we've been working through. Obviously, we talked about staffing levels, which relates to hiring. In the lower staffing levels makes it difficult to meet the high level of expectation that we've come to have of the police department. We've focused hard on making sure that the basic life safety services never wavered. We've really made the patrol the backbone there, but that's been a challenge to some of our added value units, like our traffic team, our specialty units, just due to having to get patrol fully staffed before we can move people out of there. And while one of the greatest things we enjoy about our police department is our responsive customer service and the high expectation relationship we maintain with the community, staffing makes it difficult to be able to hit those marks on a consistent basis. I will say we have a very talented staff and a very creative and talented, hardworking leadership team who make things happen even in those challenges and have done an excellent job keeping a high level of service. And then again, not news to council at all or to the public, I would imagine, with all the things in the news lately, but there's definitely challenges in the criminal justice system. Over the last decade or so, there has been significant movement legislatively to decrease penalties for criminal offenses, all from well-intended areas, but really we're seeing the outcomes of some of those penalties now. That coupled with overburdened local criminal justice system where our jails impacted and overcrowded, and our DA's office is definitely overburdened with a caseload. It's challenging to get folks who are committing crimes held accountable and then kept for any length of time. And so we've been creative in trying to find different accountability measures with that as well. And then organized criminal enterprises are capitalizing on these challenges. You know, we'll talk a little bit about our organized retail theft grant, but there's other folks out there that see an opportunity to commit crime, and it's been a significant challenge. Talking a little bit about our numbers here, just to kind of give you a compare and contrast of apples to apples comparison. So right now, we're getting back up to staff, and that's a wonderful thing. And as we do with our entry-level folks, you know, you can't replace the legacy of experience when someone retires or somebody leaves. And so it's just kind of a landscape look at what we're looking at now. So back in 2019, our average years of service were 9.4 years. Number of sworn positions that we had with more than 10 years of experience was 29, and the number between 5 and 9 years was 14. That's important because that number between 5 and 9 are generally the forward-facing line level folks. And that 5-year mark is about a journeyman level where they can really understand what's going on there and have seen enough to be very effective. In 2023, our average years of service fell to 6.9 with only 16 people with 10 or more years and only 9 folks in the department between 5 and 9. So that's kind of where the challenge lies there. Also, while we're hiring excellent, motivated people, you got to get them trained and you got to get them up. And it's perfectly reasonable and they're doing a great job, but that also takes a lot of staff time. So our corporals, our seniors, our FTOs, and our communication training officers have done a heck of a job getting folks trained up and to the tune of over 8,600 hours
What are
last year
corporals and
of training.
seniors? What is that?
Corporals, well, you see, so if you see a sworn officer out there with 2 stripes on their shoulder, they're a corporal. So they're basically a lead on a patrol team, so they can act as an officer in charge if a sergeant is missing for a day, things like that. But part of their lesser included duties is to provide training. Seniors is that same level, but for our professional staff, so it's kind of the match to that. So they would be a lead of a work unit. So we have those with our records unit, our code enforcement, and our community service officers. And then FTO is a field training officer. That's an officer that's specifically assigned to train sworn personnel. And a CTO is a communications training officer, which is a dispatch trainer. Just to look at some hiring efforts, we have made significant progress in hiring folks, and then we'll talk a little bit here too, where retention is also a big part of trying to keep our talented people. So you can see our numbers from 2023. We were able to hire over 14 people. Unfortunately, we also had 14 separations through either retirement or other items and injuries and things like that, with a net gain of 0. So 14 was a lot of work to put people through for a net gain of 0. But council's been right there with us, the city manager's been right there with us to help fix some of those things, and we can talk about that later. As we're coming up in our staffing numbers, we just added on here May to get you a look of where we already are this year. We've been able to hire another 8 additional sworn and haven't yet had any separations, so we're doing pretty good there and hoping to keep that number low. Just for observation here to kind of show you the comparison on the bottom of the slide, a lateral officer who comes from another agency is one that's past probation, has at least a year of experience. When we hire one of those folks, once we've hired them, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to get them through a training program to teach them the Citrus Heights way to do things and get them out on the street in a solo capacity. With an academy graduate who has academy training and comes to us already trained up from an academy, they have no law enforcement experience and have to go through a full field training program, which is 4 to 6 months in contrast to 4 to 6 weeks. So obviously it puts a little bit of a burden there. And then our primary source of entry-level folks currently are recruits. And so that's 0 experience, 0 academy. We put them through the academy, which takes about 6 months, and then they go through the 4 to 6 month field training program. So you can see it takes a little while to go from entry-level to fully experienced officer, but we recruit really good ones, and we're not going to shortcut their training because we want to make sure we're providing excellent service when they're out there. This is the same way to look at this in a graph. So you can see in 2021, where our hiring was. So every October, we report to the Department of Justice what our census data is point in time for officers. And so that's where those numbers came from. We added bullets for March and May to kind of show where we're pulling out from 2023 and where we are now. That 84 number is where we expect to be in May, and is definitely progress and is helping us get back to some of those specialty units and added value units. On the positive, Definitely, like I've stated already, council's been with us every step of the way, the city manager's been with us every step of the way, trying to not only help us hire and be strategic in the marketplace and be able to recruit good folks, but also allow us to help with our retention efforts to make sure the quality of life for the employee that's here is as good as it can be, and that they can they mitigate some of those stresses and things. So some of that is hiring compensation, but also some innovative items. We talked about the overburdened criminal justice system. There's no beds at the jail right now. Bookings can take up to 5 hours because of the burden down there in that system. That's a long turnaround to have a police officer out of the field. So we created a booking officer position where booking officers can actually take that arrestee down to jail and leave the officer here in the field so that we can keep our folks on the street looking for the next arrest while dealing with that booking issue. Also, as part of the wellness area, the city contracted with a new mental wellness vendor, which is Concern, and this provides law enforcement capable psychology services, so folks that understand law enforcement culture and are able to better help some of our first responders with the unique challenges that they see in there. And also, it's always been the positive here in Citrus Heights. Citrus Heights, I brag on Citrus Heights to my counterparts in the region because you can't find a more supportive community that really is there to not only help themselves and roll up their sleeves and do good work to better the community, but very supportive of the first responder community, very supportive of law enforcement. And it's a mutual relationship that we like to keep. You know, coming out of COVID, where we were low staffing, we've really been striving to re-engage with the community and train up our young officers under that model so that they can understand the benefit of being able to have that two-way relationship with the community. And also, as we spoke to earlier, you know, neighborhood areas are also trying to revitalize and come back. We're right there with them every step of the way, trying to ensure that law enforcement engagement with the neighborhoods helps prop them up as well. Leadership promotions, we have, like I said, have an excellent leadership team. We have some in the audience here today. So in January, we were able to promote Communications Supervisor Regina Harmon. In April, Sean Gualco was promoted to Police Lieutenant. Also Ken Lewis in April to Police Lieutenant. Jake Stadelman to Police Sergeant, and Dave Weisenflew to Police Sergeant. So very proud of those guys, and they're doing an excellent job. Next, moving on to goals and accomplishments. First, we'll start with internal goals. Obviously, we talked about recruiting and retention a lot. It's been a big focus, not only to get out there and hire folks, but to retain. And one of the strategies there with retention, we looked at different retention studies. We actually had an academic professor come in to see if we could help identify any retention issues that we had. The sample size was too small to really apply too much of the academic worth there. But one thing that we did enact was myself and also my counterparts in HR did exit interviews and gathered data from every employee that was leaving to try to see how we can make Citrus Heights a better location, what we can do to try to keep folks that were voluntarily leaving, and to work to fix that. That's helped us adjust some small things here and added some value with the retention as well. Wellness, I know the mayor, you spoke about that from the Public Safety Committee. You know, wellness is a major concern coming out of COVID. And some of the stressors with public unrest and things like that, our officers went through a lot. And they go through a lot anyway. It's the job that exposes them to some some dark items and things that they have to make sure that they're put their head on the right way. As I meet with these young recruits, I let them know, hey, this is a marathon, not a sprint. We want you to be as healthy as you possibly can when you finish your career, so you're there for your loved ones at the end. We've made a lot of steps to be able to do that. We have obtained grant money for wellness programs, secured Ellie here, who is probably one of the best wellness items to brighten up somebody's day, unless you don't like dogs, but who could not like that face? That might sound like a silly thing, but we have a nonprofit organization, which is Hearts for Heroes, I believe, yeah, who donated Ellie to us, and we have a handler trained up, which is Lieutenant Mike Wells. And so she's in the office not only for our employees, but also for folks that are in crisis to be able just to pet on the dog. And fun fact for these Hearts for Hero dogs, they're all hypoallergenic, so it doesn't affect the dog allergy issue either. And HR likes that, and it helps without the sneezing, so it's been wonderful. We're continuing to enhance some of those items and looking forward to utilizing more grant funding here in 2024. Again, like I spoke to, it's been a challenging time for law enforcement, and our leadership team was not left out of that mix. We have a great team really trying to hold the place together, and it was a challenge there. And so one of the things we tried to do in 2023 is, re-engage with the purpose of law enforcement, why we're here, help to put the alignment with the leadership team in place to really train these young folks in what it is not only to be a law enforcement officer and to keep them physically safe, but what it means to provide that high-quality customer service out to our residents, and the importance of what we've built here with our community relationships with our team. In a municipal police department, we work at the pleasure of the community. We work with our community. We're not an occupying force, and we really want to train up these folks from the very beginning. Hey, go the extra mile, do the problem solving, do what you can there. And frankly, we needed to be able to get that team back together and realign. So we spent a good portion of last year training that team up. That culminated in a team building workshop in September of last year, where we were able to really get down to the meat of issues, reset priorities, re-talk about the great things that we have going on in Citrus Heights, re-talk about the great things that the police department is about, because when you get so busy working, you forget how awesome some of these things are that we have and what a great community we have. And I know that sounds like, oh, okay, a workshop, but it really worked out well, got a very positive response, not only from our leadership team, but the very day they came back in the field after that TBW, the frontline staff noticed a change, noticed a difference, and really have been working hard on that. Coupling with that, we worked on a new department vision to move us forward into the future years. We wanted one that was easy for folks to remember and really made the point. And so that department vision is we strive to make a positive impact every day and in every interaction. That sounds simple, but when applied over law enforcement and the workload that they're doing, it definitely has challenges there. But from my perspective, we expect folks are going to make mistakes. We know things are going to happen and need to be coached. But if we come at every situation trying to make a positive impact, not only with our public, but with each other, that helps with our service delivery, it helps with our retention, and it helps us be a stronger team. And it's really been well. Moving outside the agency for our external goals. I spoke earlier about really getting back out into the community and shaking the COVID dust off and getting back out there, shaking hands and seeing what was going on. I personally try to get out to the community as much as possible. I know a city manager and I were crossing paths at different road shows all last year, going to all the NA meetings and service clubs, chamber events, Sikh community events. Director Huber and I went down to the Capitol to try to help with some of the legislative challenges related to Prop 47 reform. And then going into our schools and working with our partnership with the school district to try to engage youth with Red Ribbon Week and drug prevention and things like that. Our command staff has also been taking on that torch. We now have a command staff level person assigned to every neighborhood association, neighborhood area, I'm sorry, that's a typo on there, and we got to make the change, my bad, okay. But we have a command staff representative there, replacing what used to be our POP officers in those meetings. POP officers were wonderful, and it was great to have them in there. One of the challenges was they would get a problem and come back and they would have to work within the mechanism to see what's going. By having a command staff person there and then having line level staff assigned behind that, and we can talk about that in a minute geographically, really those folks can get the issue from the community and just issue orders immediately when they come back to make sure they're making a difference. So we've seen some positive feedback from that and looking forward to doing more there. Along with that, command staff representative, we have divvied up geographically the neighborhood areas within our specialty units, like our impact team and code enforcement, so that when there is feedback from the neighborhood areas, there's already an assigned detective, a code enforcement, or traffic unit person that can already take point and be lead. And it really makes a difference. We always wanted to say we can keep all priorities on top of our heads, but getting one point person assigned to specific problems is really where it's at. That's been good. And then we've always had our command staff represented in our service clubs, and we've maintained that and seen good benefits from that as well. And then just our regular staff. We love our community. It's a great community, and wherever possible, with calls for service depending, we can get officers out to these shows. And some of the, we were at the fireworks show, Sunday Fun Day, Trunk or Treat, doing some of our anti-opioid program events and school events, and many, many more. So love to see their faces out there, and really, it's mutually beneficial. I know the community loves to see our officers, but we love to get the interaction between our officers and the community where it's a positive interaction and not finding somebody on their worst day or having to make an arrest, and pays off dividends. Other goals was focusing on quality of life violations. These are that low-level criminal enforcement that's been a focus for the whole city, and council's well aware of many of these items, but just to touch on some of those things. Trying to use the tools we have as a city with our local control to be able to bring accountability measures even with the challenging landscape that we have. So some of those have been our shopping cart ordinance, adjustments to our legal dumping ordinance, the move from making our ordinances misdemeanors to infractions, which sounds counterproductive because it looks like a lowering of a consequence, but actually by moving those to infractions, we're able to get them actually ingested into the criminal justice system. So when we follow up with a chronic nuisance offense, we're able to actually have those in the system as opposed to just us talking about when they were and how they got out of there. So that's been good. Our partnership with the city attorney's office has done well to set the mechanisms in place to help us with that chronic nuisance event. There is about 9 currently sitting with the firm that are looking to start the process of criminal prosecution behind some of the chronic nuisance quality of life issues. And we're looking forward to being able to report out on those successes as they make their way. As just a measure of how long these things take, our very first test case was 2 years ago, is still being adjudicated in the criminal justice system. So we're working on that and make sure we keep everyone updated as we go. Next was to look at our impact model. As council might remember, while we had those staffing challenges with our specialty units, we wanted to make sure we didn't lose all of our added value. And so there was a merger of our special investigations unit and our POP unit so that we could combine those resources and actually have a robust street team that could accomplish both of those missions. So basically, the impact mission is to provide that street-level crime suppression, crime prevention education in areas with significant crime trends or quality of life concerns, help with community outreach, collaborate with city partners and stakeholders to find long-term solutions to community problems. Team members are listed over here, and we'll talk about some of their accomplishments. I will say this unit is an experiment, and we want to see if we can get the most bang for our buck out of the resources that we have. Became phenomenally busy right when we put them in place and ended up being very successful with a lot of criminal aspects, and got so busy there that they needed some additional support with some of the community outreach and some of the old POP-related issues. So that's part of the idea of where having command staff representation come to the neighborhood areas was born, because that would free those impact detectives to be out in the field, because those early evening neighborhood area times are also good times for the impact detectives to be on the street doing some of the crime suppression. So we're continuing to massage that model to make it better and to be able to react to community feedback to make sure we're full service. But we've stumbled on some pretty good, effective models, and we'll see some of their accomplishments here. From investigative support, they authored approximately 50 search warrants, conducted multiple surveillance, assisted our General Investigations Unit, which is GIU, with 5 homicide cases, which for Citrus Heights was a lot last year, 27 shooting cases, and 10 significant robbery series cases. I want to pause here because I know we're talking about impact, but what I would really like to highlight, and it's not really on slides because of the way their work goes, but our General Investigation Unit, which is our detectives and in partnership with patrol and our criminal investigation teams, have done a phenomenal job, even while being understaffed, of leveraging technology, some of the latest crime-fighting tools that are out there to make just phenomenal arrests in short periods of time on some very dangerous and significant suspects that are out there. Impact and patrol get out there and are able to put the handcuffs on these folks, but really it's the work of our detectives, doggedly dedicated and creative, to try to find ways to identify people that are hurting folks in our community and get them held accountable. So I just can't say enough about those investigators. But as we're talking about impact, that's really the folks. Investigators find them, impact goes and scoops them up. They've been doing a great job. Some other items there, working with probation and with our local our county partners with gang suppression as well. Operations support, like I said, they're full service for the entire department. They've partnered with code enforcement and helped with 4 problem homes that were deemed uninhabitable. There we go. They partnered with our local CHP to perform 3 organized retail theft blitz operations here in Citrus Heights. I think you guys have probably saw that on our Facebook, our media releases as well. Also with staffing, they've also covered patrol shifts when needed to make sure we keep those basic services up. They also will sit on suspects that need medical clearance at the hospital when there's not a booking officer available or reserve, if it's significant enough to get medically cleared for booking. They helped realign our sexual registrant compliance issues. So now we have a community service officer who's the lead there, but have really been able to streamline that so that when someone is found to be out of compliance, and these are folks that need to be watched and make sure that they don't harm anybody else in the future, we can now quickly identify when they're out of compliance, and Impact takes those and goes and finds those people and make sure that we get them either back in compliance, or if they're in violation, arrest them and take them to jail. City and community support, they've assisted our allied agencies in Placer County with the inmate escapee that got out of the hospital earlier last year. They helped process ABC licenses and secondhand dealer licenses. They conduct CEPTEDs for various city staff needs, whether it's business or planning, or when it's asked for from businesses, like in our marketplaces, had some done there, or for some of the quality of life concerns, helping to redesign that. And CEPTED is the crime prevention through environmental design, where they actually help, through environmental means, try to deter criminal activity. They also, from a community side, coordinated our National Night Out, and also coordinated our Drug Take Back Day, which happens to be again this Saturday. So if you have any prescriptions lying around, we'll talk about that in the city manager update as well. Quality of life, they partnered with Sunrise Parks to help clean up some very large and established homeless camps that were within our public parks earlier in the year. Partnered with our business improvement district for blight and crime and other district concerns. They also attend our monthly board meetings to get those interactions. That's being moved now that we have moved away from the marketplace officer. Now we have a command staff representative who also attends those board meetings to make sure we're in open conversation with the district. They assisted with closures of problematic businesses. Each one of those detectives is carrying a caseload now for the chronic nuisance offender program, and we've seen that be very successful, where they can apply some creativity to not only prosecute where needed, but also take that detective look and try to get that same creativity to see if we can divert these folks to services as well. Because if we can get folks help, that's better than them being out there to offend or be in jail anyway. And then they've also coordinated the efforts to capture our data related to the unhoused persons in our problem areas. We usually refer to that as our homeless count. That's different from the PIT count. The PIT count tries to have a census of all those folks who are unhoused or suffering from that issue. Ours is more focused on that population that's in our problem areas, our street level quality of life issues. So we look at that population to see if we can either move them to services, or if they're in need of accountability measures, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, but that falls within the impact as well. Beautification crew partnership, as we massaged this model, we did varying degrees of impact coordinating with the beautification crew. Started with a couple operations a week. Now we've moved up and found that the most effective model is we have a detective every single day out there with the beautification crew. We started that in January, and we've seen significant improvements in a short period of time out there, and it's been awesome. James and Leon on the beautification crew, hard workers, really awesome partners, and bringing the detectives along with them has helped them be able to focus on their work while our detectives can focus on holding folks accountable, and it's been good. You can see, I know Director Cave will give you a more robust beautification crew update here coming up shortly, but just short stats, 76 tons of trash has been moved off of those problem areas, and over 1,500 shopping carts have been returned. All right, next goal is trying to leverage and upgrade technology to increase our overall effectiveness. I talked about this a little earlier, not only do we want to make sure we get our staff back, but we want to make sure they're as most effective as they can be. And there's technology available now that helps kind of be a force multiplier to those officers out in the field, and we're trying to exploit as much as we can out of that and trying to find other people's money to do it, because we want to be fiscally responsible. So had very significant success in procuring grants. Council here provided ARPA funding as well, and Congressman Bera's office provided some for technology. So we tested and evaluated our real-time information center partnership, And what this was we placed an operator part-time down with Elk Grove's Real-Time Information Center, because the way technology works, you don't have to be in the city to watch city cameras. And so it was a nice way to leverage what they had already built to be able to be mutually beneficial, because we gain the accessibility to all that intelligence. They gain a partner down there to help them with their calls as well. And so as we move forward in this next year, as we administer the organized retail theft grant, part of that is to fund a full-time, real-time information center operator down there to continue that partnership. And that regional model is one that's unique and has been very effective. Organized retail theft, we've presented on that here before as well. We were able to secure funding from the state to do those operations. This is going to be another heavy technology, being able to put crime detection technology in and around our major business corridors and better identify folks that are committing crimes out there and bring them to justice. The basic technology funding was helping to upgrade our communication systems and bring our the internal workings of our fleet up to current levels for our computers and our mobile data terminals. Dispatch remodel is underway. The project is going. We have not yet broke ground in the communication center, but you really got to be careful that you don't drop the 911 calls. So we'll be seeing as we go here in the next couple months. We'll actually be moving them out of that center into an alternate location, and then starting construction in the center to move them back. So that should be complete this year, and we're looking forward to that as well. And then the fleet, we finally got our police cars here after about 2 years of them being on order. They are here. They're currently being upfitted at a local installer to get all the lights and whistles and cool stuff and gadgets in there, and they're trickling back into patrol. So keeping all wheels on the ground and the shiny side up is what we're all about, and it's been very good. So I want to really thank council's support in securing the ARPA funding to do both of those things, because the aging fleet and the aging communication center, if we can't take the phone call for the crime and we can't get somebody safely there, we're not going to be able to do it. So I thank you for your support on that. All right, moving into our department statistics. So as council may recall, last year was the first year of data where we transitioned from the traditional summary data form of unified crime reporting to our Cybers and NIBRS report. And I won't bore you with all the details, but the short version is we used to have about 8 or 9 data points that would get reported up to the federal government. That blossomed into around 60 different data points, right? And so last year was the first year, or 2022 was the first year of data. Now with 2023, we have 2 years of data where we're able to compare. So this is the first time we can actually do apples to apples comparison under that incident-based reporting system. So looking at that, crimes against person, we saw an increase of 13.9%. Our homicides definitely played a role in that, but also we saw an interesting spike in rape and kidnapping. Now, as we look into that, because that sounds super concerning, we definitely wanted to dive into that and see if we could learn more about that. First of all, those crimes are never okay, and it's a very serious issue. When we dove into these crimes, though, we try to see what we can prevent and where we can place our resources. So with the rape crimes, the predominant suspect here were known suspects, acquaintances, or otherwise in a relationship. So obviously still a violation, but not the stranger danger you might think of people preying on folks in public, right? And so obviously if that were to occur, I wouldn't wait for a year summary to let council or the public know about that, but that's definitely an issue of concern, and but we wanted to explain some of that. Kidnapping, you'll see an increase in kidnapping. That's another one that, as a parent, gets you right in the heart there when you see something like that. That was 100% known folks. It was generally parental custody or folks that by court order shouldn't have had the children, or was an additional add-on for a crime. For instance, if you're committing a crime in someone's house and you move them from one room to the other, technically a kidnap has occurred or a false imprisonment has occurred. Those numbers fall under the category of kidnapping for purposes of this reporting. So again, none of these represent the predator out in the street kind of a kidnapping, which still not great, but not a public as wide of a public safety concern. The other increase that we dove into deeply was robberies. Frankly, this robbery is directly related to our organized retail theft and some of the other low-level criminal offenses we talked about. Folks that have no consequence for shoplifting have become even more emboldened And a lot of these robberies represented people getting very aggressive during shoplift incidents or becoming emboldened, with those. Happy to say that, we've been able to take significant quick action on a lot of these robbery series that we've had recently and been able to get folks in custody very quickly. Interestingly, robbery falls under property crime, as the Uniform Crime Report goes. Don't ask me why, but it's usually because you're taking some item. But I would say if I got robbed, I would feel that it was affected my person, but that's reflected in those numbers. So crimes against property, you see an increase of 1.1%. And then crime against society is a new one that we have not generally reported on, but these are mostly status offenses, which, while it seems large with a 17% increase, it's actually some good news. These crimes are crimes where our officers have found somebody in possession of illegal narcotics, illegal weapons, prohibited persons. So generally, this increase, a good portion of this increase has to do with the higher proactivity we've been able to do as we've been getting staffing back. So while you never like to see an increase of crime, in this particular one, it actually is highlighting a good service. That being said, while we're talking through that, I do expect this year, with all the effort we'll be putting into the organized retail theft, I do predict that we'll see a spike in shoplift and larceny reports. In fact, as we've been meeting with business owners, a lot of folks had given up on reporting shoplifts because they didn't feel like anybody was going to do anything about it. Now that we've been out there trying to encourage those reports, we are seeing significant spikes in the reporting, which is going to statistically throw a curveball, but we'd rather know everything that's happening so we can better attack it. So this time next year, we might be seeing for the first year of this organized retail theft, we might see a significant increase in that, and then we'll hope to see our strategies breaking that down. And then of the total groups altogether, or overall crime, if you're going to report on that, it's a 4% increase based on this cyber summary data. Now, like I said, we were in the first 2 years. Usually we try to look back at least 5 years to kind of get a baseline, because you can have a year off here and there. We don't have 5 years of data under cyber, so we went back to the traditional UCR review just to kind of show council and the public the overall 5-year look at those things. So you can see while we had a slight increase this year, we have been still trending downward in many of these crimes. So if we were only reporting on the standard summary statement that we had before, we would actually have seen about a 1% decrease. Well, I guess less than 1%, a 0.36 decrease in overall crime. And as you can see, we still would have noted the rape, robbery, and homicide increase, but overall, that's just to give you an apples-apples comparison for the 5-year viewpoint. Moving on to traffic, as you can see, our traffic citations, with staffing comes more traffic enforcement, which is great, because here in Citrus Heights, we talk about quality of life stuff, moving around and folks driving and driving recklessly or causing collisions is a big concern for our public. We're out there as much as we can to try to do that enforcement. You see our specific traffic citations with our motor unit jumped from 846 to 2,500. We were only able to put one additional motor unit in the streets in 2023, but you can see one motor unit makes a big difference in those numbers, and we're hoping to get more of those out this year as well. Our DUI arrests went slightly down by 1, but still a significant concern for us. As we get staffing back, we'd like to see a dedicated DUI car out there. We've actually submitted some grant funding specifically for DUI drug car as well, to be able to provide that additional training. Our traffic collisions, you can see down on the bottom here, those numbers. And then over on the side, here's a breakdown of our DUI types. Now, there's a question from council on the different types of drugs that are being seen in these DUIs. And so to look at that, marijuana is 23%, prescription medications 21%, opioid is 15%, and then other illicit substances is 28%. Other comes back at just different crimes. Like, for instance, when you get a blood sample, caffeine will come back in the blood. It doesn't necessarily mean that it was illegal for you to be on that, but don't drive with too many monsters or you might be a little fidgety.
Where's alcohol?
Well, this was a breakdown of just the DUI drugs, so you
Okay.
can assume all the rest were alcohol. So 14% of the total 259, 14% of those also were drug-related. So they may have a combination of drugs and alcohol, but 14% specifically we called out as drug-related and then broke out by drug type. So it'd be 85% of the rest is pure alcohol. Overall calls for service, handled about 82,000 calls for service last year, 14,000 officer-initiated calls, cleaned up over 900 camps. Again, much like we talked about with organized retail theft, what we're seeing is we're able to be more proactive at some of these quality of life concerns. We're seeing the numbers of violations grow. A lot of that has to do with the proactive efforts that we've been making out there. You see 81 guns taken off the street, almost 9,000 reports, crime reports taken, recovered about 280 stolen vehicles, and had almost 900 felony arrests. Dispatch center is a busy area to work into. So this is kind of a breakdown there. We told you we had 80,000 calls for service, but those are just the phone calls that turn into actual service calls for our folks. Dispatch is busy doing much more than just that. And so you can see their total is about 138,000 for the year. They average about 380 calls a shift or a day in a 24-hour period. So they're super busy. Some of the large-scale projects is not only the dispatch remodel that we talked about earlier, but they help replace a microwave dish to help interoperability with regional partners to make sure that there's backups for our radio system should the digital go down. Did a long-term logging solution to ensure compliance with some of the upcoming changes regarding our 911 and our next generation 911. Code enforcement created more than 2,000 cases, closed 1,900 of those, which is really good. Significant problem houses identified were about 10. And then massage establishment checks, 25. The top 5 code violations that they deal with is neglected landscaping, trash, junk and rubbish, inoperable vehicles, and parking on unapproved surfaces. That's the day-to-day. You can see a before and after on the right here. That's what our code enforcement engages with sometimes when they first walk in the door. And after we bring homes into compliance, you can see the bottom picture is that same house, but you can see the floor now, which is a lot more healthy for everybody involved. Moving over to rental housing inspection unit. They work with our code enforcement folks, but they're focused on the rental housing inspection program. Purpose of this program is to try to preserve neighborhoods and the quality of life for our residents by making sure rental properties are compliant with health and safety standards. This has actually been positive for both tenants and landlords because it's an impartial check. So for tenants who are too afraid to point some of these issues out, the operators are able to come in there. For the homeowner who maybe can't get in to inspect their own property, being able to get in there, we can alert them to some significant problems that are happening. So we did have a staffing challenge in our code enforcement and rental housing last year as well, but they were still able to inspect more than 470 homes, verified 1,600 violations, and were able to either gain compliance or clear 1,500 of those as well. Animal Services, a little quick snapshot on what their day looks like. So again, you met those folks, I think it was last council meeting. 3 highly motivated, highly dedicated animal service officers handled over 3,000 calls last year on their own. 14 of those were vicious animal cases. They were able to reunite 177 strays and conduct over 128 bite investigations. And the percentage is kind of the breakdown of what they're looking at. So strays is a significant component, but also nuisance and sick and injured as well. And then at our Harvest Festival last year, we had our chipping event with the help of Dr. Jana, and we're able to chip 34 dogs. We're hoping to
Chip, chip, hooray.
we're hoping to increase that number and get a chip hooray banner of some type or logo out there for that as well. Because the more we can reunite folks with their animals, the easier it is for them, the better it is for the dogs, and better it is for the community. Records and data compliance. Now, these are absolutely the unsung heroes of the criminal justice system. Almost nothing that they accomplish is things you talk about at parties, but boy, they keep the criminal justice river of information flowing and do an awesome job. This is just a highlight of all the cases that they have to touch, the internal audits, compliance that they have to do with not only DOJ at the state level, but also federal level. They process towed vehicles, background checks, vehicle releases, assist citizens in our lobby, help do our business permits as well. And again, that CSO that runs our arson and sex registrant runs out of that unit as well. So phenomenal group of folks, and we're happy to say we are finally up to full staffing in that unit, and they are really, really crushing it, doing a great job. And then volunteers, we highlighted city volunteers earlier today, but want to tell you specifically for the PD, I think Dr. Jana said it earlier, PD could not function without our volunteers. Unfortunately, during COVID, we lost a lot of our volunteers who weren't allowed to be in the building, and man, we felt it. I mean, we couldn't even, couldn't figure out which way was up sometimes without some of those folks. But it's not just easy volunteering stuff. They actually do a lot to help serve the community. You can see here, you know, we don't have a parking enforcement arm here at the city. We rely heavily on our volunteers to do a lot of the proactive parking enforcement with officers as backup and been able to do that as well. They issued over, 660 parking citations, towed almost 100 vehicles last year. Unique to Citrus Heights, as far as I'm familiar with, is we have a very passionate volunteer who was a former pilot, who is our go-to know-it-all for drone piloting and patrol. And the nice thing about those drones, they provide officer safety, but you don't have to be an officer to fly it. So he's actually helped on some significant critical incidents by being able to be out of danger, but fly into that area and give good intelligence for our officers. With that, 7,000 hours of volunteer time equates to about $260,000. The state allows you to charge to talk about $32 an hour of volunteer time, which equates to a significant savings to the city if we were trying to do the same thing with paid employees. And they also participate in our community events and just do a heck of a job. All right, moving on. Looking forward, so we're almost halfway through 2024, so we're not waiting to start right now. We've already been going, but I want to just kind of give you a preview of what we'll be talking about next year. So obviously, the major city focus has been those quality of life issues through our CARES campaign. The police department's been lockstep from the very beginning with that, trying to make sure we're supporting those issues as well. We're going to continue to do that through our quality of life enforcement. We really do have a heart for getting people to services, but from a police department job, the best way we can help with that is hold that accountability line for folks that aren't obtaining services or have issues. So along with that, we talked about some of the accountability measures that we can control. When we're out there, those folks that there's frankly drug addiction and drug use is a significant concern for our whole population. Opioid addiction and the fentanyl crisis hits everybody. We're out there at least once a month with an overdose and having to deal with that. But in the landscape that we talked about with the criminal justice system, law enforcement in general, it kind of fell out of fashion to enforce things like being under the influence of a controlled substance in public. I know Mayor Daniels probably remembers, as do I, where that used to have teeth and help get people cleaned up. There's not a lot of teeth there, but the law's on the books. We're training our young folks up into that investigative ability so that, folks that if we can get addicts into service, that's the number one thing to do. But if they're going to continue to be on the street and be a danger to themselves or others, we're going to look to enforce that law as well and make sure we can get those folks in there, either to services or off the streets, either way. So we're looking forward to a significant push towards that. Animal services enhancements, we talked about that as strategic planning. We've talked about that with council. We're really looking how to, a great team, but we're looking how to enhance that service delivery so it's more convenient for our animal owners in the city, but it's more effective for those accountability measures as well and making sure we can, care for our animals and care for public safety. It's not just about, those animals are cute, but it's not just about the animals, making sure that you keep a lid on rabies, keep a lid on vicious dogs, and other issues associated with animal health and welfare is public safety for everybody, whether or not you are a pet owner. And then again, like I said, as we're moving forward with staffing, we're trying to bring back that added value items. And, now that we're getting folks off of training and back out into the streets and we have a whole new generation, is really looking at strategic ways to deploy our resources so we get the most out of the officers in the field. And so you might be familiar with our crime and traffic strategic enforcement program, what we call CATCH. We're working that and revitalizing that so it's more user-friendly with the technology add-ons that we have right now to be able to get our folks who are out there crime fighting, get the information from them coupled with the information from the community and the information from our criminal justice partners to really say, hey, where can we deploy people today that's going to make the biggest impact in crime and traffic or quality of life issues that we have in the city. So looking forward to some advancements there. And again, continuing forward with our community enhancement and engagement relationships. We'll be working on a community education plan this year to be able to hit on all of our media channels, including hard mailers and whatever, give people resources so that they are aware of what's out there, what we can help them with, but they're also aware of all the different avenues in which they could report crimes or help themselves, like with restraining orders and issues like that. And then youth and safety engagement, youth is always the future, and, if we can protect that and raise them up as best as we can, that's a significant focus. We've been in regular conversations with the school district on how we can partner together to help secure our children while they're at schools. We also have our PAL program that, again, had a COVID hit like everybody else, and we're looking right now, we're in a hiring process for a new PAL coordinator that actually runs out of PAL, but we're hoping that to revitalize that and just get a larger influence on some of the at-risk kids and get them to resources and help them grow up with positive role models so they'll be good citizens here in Citrus Heights for the future. All right, so with that, did want to talk about some of those that we lost this year. So volunteer Bob Warris and Elian Kapachi, both were volunteers with us since the beginning in 2006. In fact, Elian served the Sheriff's Department substation before we even got there. So her and Charlotte were the most veteran police folks in the town. Unfortunately, Elian and Bob both passed away. Bob just recently, and Elian was last year as well. So phenomenal folks. Bob was in our traffic unit, and he was known as Mr. Thomas Guide because he knew every street in the city and helped train up some of our volunteers that are working out now. And Elian was our post office. So she would come around and deliver the mail with just the sweetest smile that you ever seen, and everyone loved her a lot. Both achieved over 90 years and also dedicated community servants, so can't say too much about that. And then one of our own team members, and I think I've shared this with council as well, but we lost our dispatcher, Katie Vryheid. Last August to an unexpected medical injury. So her husband was also a former officer with us, Rick. And so that was a tragic loss for us, and she'll always be remembered. So with that, happy to entertain any questions from council.
Questions, comments? Go ahead, Councilmember Schaefer.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a long presentation. Thank you very much, Chief. Thanks very much to our CHPD team. I can't say enough. Very, very good. I got a couple questions for you, though. And you covered a lot of information. I made some notes along the way. So we returned 1,500 carts. Are we seeing compliance from our merchants that are they tracking the carts correctly? Is it, do they have all the plans in place that help us manage this better? The 1,500 carts, I think it was, Regina, the last time we talked, it was like 1,100. And it seems like it's up from last year.
So Director Cave would have way more information on that, but I will tell you the short answer is no, not to the level that we would like, and so I'll throw that to Regina.
Good evening, Regina Cave, General Services Director. My staff is actually tracking all of these on a daily basis as we are retrieving these, whether they're from unhoused or they are abandoned. And we are reaching out to each of the retailers after we get a stash built up for them to come and retrieve. We've been having some challenges with an on-call gentleman who actually does go around and he contracts with a lot of the retailers. So a lot of the retailers are trying to figure out ways that they can actually come and retrieve them here from our utility yard. Our intent is that this summer we will start being a lot more proactive and reaching out to the retailers to let them know we've been doing this for a little bit over a year, and we would like to get a lot more compliance to reduce that number from 1,500 to at least half in this next year. So we will be getting some communications out hopefully this summer to a lot of the retailers.
In the old days, the stores kept their carts inside the store, and now that they're outside, they're easy for people to just walk off with them. But when they were in the store, all they got to do is, a little corner of the store to put the carts in. And
the retailers used to have, I myself used to work for a grocery store many years ago, and it used to be a lot more regular that you would see courtesy clerks that would actually go out and retrieve the shopping carts on a regular basis because they did see those as a significant asset because they are so costly to replace. But what we've found through a lot of the retailers is that they just write off the cost, that if they don't get returned to them, it's just a write-off. We do have a couple local retailers that they are owners of their store, such as grocery outlet, and they do keep a much smaller quantity on hand. So if they do lose 2 or 3 of their 50 shopping carts, it's pretty significant for them. So they've been a lot more responsive.
So another follow-up question to that. So on any given day, how many shopping carts do we have in our yard? That we're
Right now, probably about 60 to 70. And we found that we're actually retrieving a lot of ones that have broken lock mechanisms in place. So this has been a huge learning opportunity for us to see that even with those locking systems, they're not completely foolproof.
Okay, thank you, Regina.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that. Following up, so got our new vehicles in place. I noticed that Folsom did they did a post, they got a couple of Teslas. I used to own a Tesla. My concern certainly with Teslas is, are they robust enough to hold up to the rigors of a pursuit vehicle? My guess is they're probably not, but I'd like to know, have you looked at that, or have we looked at that? Because we're certainly also going to be forced to go into some kind of electric vehicle.
Sure. So the short answer is I just needed to get anything here if possible. So that was the first priority, and so those are coming in. We have gone to some of our fleet conferences and things and looked at some of the agencies that have deployed electric vehicles. There are some agencies that have Teslas as trials and some other electric ones. Right now, there's some infrastructure issues where we would need to update the PD parking lot to be able to actually have electrified charging systems and stuff, and Director Kay's been working on that with SMUD to see what that would look like. Our first, probably dipping our toe into electric vehicles, we'll start with non-pursuit and just start testing those out for like our community service officers, our volunteers, maybe our detectives, or folks that don't have to do pursuit rated, to see how those go and what it looks like, and then eventually move into pursuit rated as it comes along. But the infrastructure up front is probably the first challenge that we got to get through, and then we can start actually getting some here to test and evaluate.
So my last question is regarding sex offenders. I think we have a sort of a disproportionate number of sex offenders in Citrus Heights compared to a lot of other communities. And my question is that a sex offender, in order to locate here, they have to have some kind of connection to the community, like they were from here, or there's some reason, they just can't decide, well, I'm a sex offender, I'm going to locate in Citrus Heights. What's kind of the rule on that? How does that work?
You know, I'm not familiar completely with the registration, other than the fact if they have an address here, they have to check in a certain timeline, and that's where we'll keep the compliance. But you can also be unhoused and a registrant, and the unhoused folks have to come in monthly. The housed registrants have to come in every year on their birthday to go through all the steps. And of course, if they're found criminally violating something else, that's a different topic. But from the registration aspect, we have the population we have. We're not responsible for placing them, but we're responsible for watching them. So I can't talk too much to what the court will allow them to do to come into our jurisdiction, but once they're here, we're responsible for keeping tabs on them, if that makes sense.
Great, that's all I had. Thanks, Gene.
Well, following up on that, there's 177 according to Google. We have 177. If they're not supposed to be within so many feet of parks and schools, and they're homeless, would you just, I got to believe that they're violating the distance rule just off the bat.
Yeah, so that's not something that would definitely come in and tell us during a registration period, but what we do when our officers come in contact with folks, or if we have complaints, when we run a person out in the system, the court order for their registration and where they're prohibited from being will be part of that return that we get. And so, for instance, if they're supposed to be a certain distance from a school and we have contact with them for law enforcement purpose within that, we can actually submit for a violation just for that status offense of being there. Now, of course, if they harm somebody or they're committing some other crime, we'll take that priority as well. When we talked about folks being out of compliance and our impact detectives going to look for them, that's missing registration, or if we get complaints that they're violating rules, like some, we won't get too down into there, but I mean, some folks can't possess certain items. because of the registrations that they have. And so our folks will do visits, we'll figure those things out, and largely, if we contact them for another reason, we'll use that time to do a compliance search as well.
Next question. Does Ellie ever go on child welfare checks?
She's available when we have to bring, say, if we bring a child, like, we have our CPS liaison that's in our building, and so if we have a child affected by an issue that we have in our station where we're talking to them
Oh, I
or
bet
interviewing them,
I bet
we'll bring Ellie along into there, and she can help kind of soothe and, kind of as a comfort dog. So not terribly deployed into houses, although I guess we could, but primarily it's to sit with folks if they have it. So like if we had an issue where the child was at the house and Ellie was here and on duty, we could do that, but primarily it's for the kids that are here that we're already having to process, they're already scared, have been taken away from their parents. Ellie can come along there and do that, and
And I'm sure she's effective.
she is very effective, and I thought it was kind of bunk to say, but I've watched it happen in a room. Either the way they pick them or the training, which one another, but she can actually tell who's the most stressed and who's having an issue and actually goes to that person in the room. And I know because, whenever there's a significant staffing issue that I have to deal with, she'll come running into my office and put her head on my lap. So it's very, very interesting.
Then I thought about this. Removed 76 tons of trash. There's 2,000 pounds to a ton. That is a total of 152,000 pounds of garbage. That's
A lot of junk.
amazing. 152,000 pounds of garbage. I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. I really commend our whole police department. It's one of my favoriteest police departments ever because it's the second one I've ever known. It's got to be when you're recruiting that the community loving the police department, and in general, I think most people do. It's got to be a perk that somebody who's looking for a job would say, I want to be in Citrus Heights where we're loved, not where we're gunned down. So it's a perk that you're in a community that welcomes you and loves the interaction, and it's good for the officers because we get people who don't know about neighborhoods. We have our police people come to the neighborhood associations, and it's just such a warm relationship we have with our police department, and I love all of our staff. We have great staff. Okay, you can all smile. You're good. You're good. So anyway, I thank you all, and great presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
No? Okay. I'll just echo those comments too, that, it's a good report. It's a little concerning in the beginning because of the different ways of reporting out, but I really appreciated that you took the time to do the UCR comparison because that then really tells the truth and whatnot. And so thank you so much for that. I still feel, and I hope everybody else does, that Citrus Heights is a very safe city to live in. There'll always be problems anywhere and everywhere, but I have no hesitation that I would walk out down the street anywhere in Citrus Heights at 10 o'clock at night. It wouldn't bother me to do it at all. And to me, that's a reflection of, how safe are we really? And so thank you for all of that. Thank you for the staff, as it's pointed out, because nothing happens without the staff. And so thank you for that. Thank you for your leadership with the staff. And the other thing I feel confident in saying is that we have the absolute best police chief in the Sacramento region. And it probably goes more towards your MC qualities, but no, we have the best chief in the region, and we have the best chief that Citrus Heights has ever had right now. So thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you, sir.
All right, anything else? All right, next item, please.
The next item is city manager items.
All right, well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. Ash Finney, your city manager. I do have a few updates for you tonight. One we're very excited about is our Trailblaze Arcade Cripple Creek Trail Grand Opening. That's going to be occurring on a Sunday morning on May 5th. It starts at 9:30 at Tempo Park, and it'll end at Seabar Sea Park. There's going to be a ribbon cutting, a community walk associated with it, a true outdoor celebration. And this is a culmination of a lot of hard work from the team to fit a trail where one wasn't planned. and it connects a lot of community parks, schools, and a lot of other community features, and it's, you know, an off-street connection for people to enjoy and connect with their neighbors and get some, you know, some fresh air and enjoy the outdoors. So very excited about this trail opening. There is going to be a very cool commemorative item. I'm not going to blow the surprise right now, but it is a great token of appreciation for those that choose to come out and celebrate. And you can learn more about it on our website here. Again, 9:30 in the morning at Tempo Park on Sunday, May 5th. And there will be, when you arrive at CBRC, if you work up an appetite and things like that, there'll be some food trucks and so on and so forth.
Question, so 30-minute walk to CBRC, and then how do you get back to your vehicle? Another 30-minute walk after you've gone to the food trucks?
Strategically placed the second vehicle.
I know
bringing my
that, Director, I was going to say something that I think is occurring, but to not get myself in trouble and have Director Cave hit that one.
Oh, she's in charge, it's no problem.
We, my staff is, we have coordinated in partnership with RT, so RT will be there to provide shuttling services back and forth between CBRC and Tempo. So for those who do park at Tempo, and if you don't want to drive over to CBRC, they'll actually drive you over there and they can bring you back, and that will be available from the start of the ribbon cutting until about 2:30 on Sunday.
Thank you.
Should have just gone with my gut. Yeah, but thank you to Director Cave and her entire team, and our wider team for putting this event together. It's gonna be a great community celebration. And, as Chief was mentioning as part of his presentation, we are having a National Drug Take Back Day. This is an event that was started, from the, Drug Enforcement Agency, that over the course of the entire event, I thought it was interesting that almost 18 million pounds of, prescription drugs and others have been destroyed. That's a lot of beautification trucks over the course of those years. And so that's on Saturday, April 27th. It starts at 10 a.m. and it runs to 2 p.m. We will have Citrus Heights Police Department volunteers on site to assist with any questions. Our police department staff will also be assisting to take back prescription drugs into designated containers. We do ask that nobody bring any sharps or any liquids. So it would be more pill form.
Is there any non-prescription drugs, like if you have a bottle of Tylenol, you don't want to throw those in the,
No, we will take those.
take those, okay?
Yeah, we'll
And then be sure if you have your name on your prescription that you just X them off, rip off.
Yeah, and we would have some staff there to assist with the proper disposal method all the way around, all the way around. So those are the announcements. I just also want to thank our police department for their great work. It was a very thorough update, and there's a lot of women and men behind that make up our department, and chief, his leadership team, and just everybody there. A lot of hard work every day, day in and day out, you know, to keep the citizens of Citrus Heights safe and improve the quality of life here. So just my gratitude to the team, too.
All right.
And that's all I've got.
Next item, please.
Next item is
Mayor,
items
or
requested
Can
by.
I interrupt real quick? Did you forget the San Juan thing that we sponsored? And unfortunately, I can't make that, but.
I did.
On May 4th.
On May 4th, on Saturday, we have a lot going on.
Yeah.
Saturday, May 4th, there's these, at San Juan High School, there's the Sacramento Valley Manufacturers Association is having an event, and it's going to be a showcase, a manufacturing showcase. And there's going to be a lot of students competing in a competition. It will be held here at San Juan High School. And I believe the start time on that is at 9 a.m. Am I correct on that? Do you know offhand? 10 a.m.?
Thank you, yes.
10 a.m., okay, so it's at 10 a.m. But I would advise, we are going to be having some construction, you know, on Greenback, so please do leave a little early to make sure that you get there on time, and we'll have some information about that. Should anyone have any questions on that, on our webpage, so. But yeah, that'll be a great event. That'll be a great event, and the city is sponsoring that event, and it's something that really kind of gets at our youth. I mean, Councilmember Schaefer, you spoke to it earlier. We do have a lot of residents that are involved in manufacturing, and I think in the manufacturing showcase in the past, we've had a pretty robust Citrus Heights turnout of students.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me about that.
Next item, please.
Next item is items requested by council members or future agenda items.
No? I have one thing. couple months ago, City Council directed staff to reach out to the San Juan Unified School District to see if they desired to engage in a cost-sharing relationship regarding placing police officers in our high schools. They have declined. And so tonight, I would like to see if I can get another council member to join me in bringing back an item for consideration to place a school resource officer in each of our high schools and to explore the funding options for that.
I will support that idea.
Okay, thank you. Any other items?
I just have a question. These grants that we gave tonight, do we put their, I think we should put their events on our city calendar, like, you know, that autism festival when it gets organized, because that's a wonderful festival, and we may generate it under our volunteer hub, because I have met a lot of people in our city with autistic children who might want to volunteer for that. And so I think, I'm not sure how many of them have events scheduled, but I think we should post their events in our, and then if they need volunteers for their organization, that we should post it in our volunteer hub,
Yeah,
because.
for events that we sponsor as a city,
Yeah,
through
and
some sort of
and if we're
contribution
the
now.
sponsor, we should be noted as a sponsor.
Like that too.
No, we should be, and
I hear you.
because, yeah, we gave a lot of money, some of them, so we should be recognized.
All right, next item, please.
And there are no further items.
Okay, so tonight I would like to adjourn our meeting in honor of Mandisa Lynn Hunley. Better known as Mandisa. She was born here on October 2nd, 1976. She was an American Idol finalist and a Christian recording artist. And she passed away unexpectedly on April 18th. So please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Great job, Mayor. Nice job, really.